Well, good evening, everybody.
Howdy.
Hope everybody's having a fine evening. Uh, Welcome, Beard.
Hi. Thank you for having me. This was
Yeah, man.
first watch for me, and I knew it was a long film. I didn't realize that it was nearly 4 hours.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
But you
this
know what?
sorry,
Uh,
but
once you start listening to some podcasts at like 1.5 or 2 times speed, you'd be surprised what you can still absorb at twice the intended play rate.
Yeah, right. And hey, welcome, T. Thank you for jumping in at last minute.
I watch a lot of movies. It's a pleasure to talk about this. I remember the first time I saw this on stage in London in 1880. They had four chariots on stage, and the background rotated as the horses went across. And I was disappointed to get back to New York, where I met my good friends from Gangs of New York, and we all went to see it together in 1880. Of course, the first time it was put on as a play, and they only had two chariots, and I thought it was a damn shame that John Bull outdid us. But we're the first generation. This is the longest this has gone without a remake since the inception of the tale in an 1880 book. First dramatization on stage is 1899.
Wow.
Wow, crazy.
That's
And
that's
then
the
there's a
earliest I
the
can find.
one in the 30s, I think, a
The
silent one.
the original tale is Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ by Lew
Yes,
Wallace.
yes. Interesting. Thing. The guy who wrote it was a general during the Civil War, and he was actually going to write a book uh, proving that God doesn't exist, and he wound up writing Ben-Hur.
Wow.
Kind of
I'm
interesting
looking at his
character right there.
biography right now. Yeah, he definitely was a civil. There's a Civil War era picture of him here. Certainly dressed as an officer. Forgive the car alarm, guys. I am just breaking into a car for some extra money. Um, hey, he was a member of the Republican Party and a full-time military career soon after the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter. So he fought for the Union. All right, he's one of the good guys.
Nice, nice. And Shieldwall, welcome back, man.
yeah, it's glad to be here. Yeah, this is a long movie, but this is back when they had intermissions and like cigarette girls walking around the aisles.
Good old days.
So yeah, selling candy and
Yep.
cigarettes and stuff. Back then,
Intermissions.
yeah, intermission. Yep. Um, they had a
Wow,
good,
that
nice
looks
10,
like a
15 minute intermission in the middle of the movie. I've been to a movie that had an intermission in it when I was in London one time. I went and saw. I can't remember what movie it was.
There you go. The 1890. I kept my. That's mine. That's the 1899 playbill for Ben-Hur. I saw it with Phineas T. Barnum.
Oh, old Phineas.
Yeah, he owed me $25 when he died. That bastard. All
So
right,
when I went to
Ben.
look for the movie today to watch, there was a newer one as well. I didn't really look at it very much, but
yes.
Oh, someone
uh,
did remake it. Okay.
yeah, it's like a
It looks
20,
cringy.
Was it
2016
a
or
Israeli
something.
movie or something?
No,
European,
it
perhaps?
just looks
Why?
really,
How
really
did
cringy. It has
Ben-Hur
Morgan
movie
Freeman in it. So
2016.
someone
Oh,
approached Ben-Hur who had no right or budget to approach it, and therefore the movie was like hard
Jack
scoffed at? Is
Houston,
that what
Toby
happened?
Kebbell, uh,
I forgot
Morgan
that
Freeman.
existed.
yeah,
Let's
they
see. It's written by
oh,
John Ridley and
All
Keith.
right, so they took a different screenwriter than the traditional one who's credited on the other stuff. Wow.
There's
All
also
right,
a 2003 animated film,
that could
a
be fun.
interesting.
1925 silent
Didn't know
film.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
I've seen some of that.
Yeah. Uh,
yeah, that's supposed to be pretty good for
oh yeah, this
being a
Blue
silent
Wallace guy
movie.
has quite the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, there's multiple versions of this. The story goes well back in time, um, as far as when it was written, and it's definitely a classic.
Tales of the Gourd King.
My
Hail,
liege.
hail, Lord King.
A great historical epic with a chariot on top, indeed. Yeah, we're gonna race. We'll talk about racing those chariots. Many horses were hurt. Many animals were hurt making this
Yes.
movie. Let's not
Yeah,
even
this
pretend.
is back when they were just like, just hit it on the head with a
Several
shovel.
stuntmen running.
Nobody
over.
thought to core out a horse and put a motorcycle inside of it.
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been awesome. What
Also,
else we got
the
here?
first like
Mom,
10
tragedy.
minutes of the movie is just like some music or something. I had to speed
Yeah.
through it. I was like, "What is this?"
Overture.
I'm just here for 10 minutes.
That
Yeah,
was
Basically,
standard.
basically
That
that was before you had the trailers at the beginning of a movie. That's what played while everybody was taking their seats.
Right.
That has
right.
been cut from every movie you've seen made before about 1970. It was expected of people to hear the overture of the movie. They do it before Broadway plays too. The last movie released with an overture was Hateful Eight. The last movie with an overture released before that was Star Trek: The Motion Picture in 1979.
Ooh.
Yeah, see, I managed to get my Star Trek point in organically, but
Hey,
that's the overture was expected, and it's on most movies' soundtracks anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It was played again during the intermission for sure.
Oh God.
There was an intermission in this 3.5 hour movie. We have to realize something. Part of the appeal of this movie was it was so darn long. I'll be sitting in the air conditioning that it doesn't have to be that good. Things
Yeah.
like that went through
Yeah,
your movie
yeah.
buying calculus. It was like, I got 10 cents here. Do I go to the Yankee game or do I go see a movie? Well, this movie's as long as a Yankee game.
Right. And if you take your date to this one, you can put more moves on her in the dark for
You're,
longer.
you're gonna go farther taking it to that Yankee game because they always served alcohol. It was the Dodgers
Yeah.
and the Giants that had no alcohol at their games.
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah, let's get this going here.
Let's do it.
Or we're gonna be here all night. So we're gonna sit through the overture for 7 minutes here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is when you get your popcorn, your drink, your cigarettes. Back in the
Back
day.
when they had really good like ads for going to the lobby, the little hot dogs dancing with the popcorn. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go. You know, the like, black and white
Go to
thing.
the lobby.
Yeah, that actually makes me want to go to the lobby and get food, not whatever the
Yeah.
nonsense they put out now is, which is usually just like a regular commercial off of a TV or something.
If we
Yeah.
had Tony here, he could just sing us this theme song the way like they sing it in Hollywood Nights. It's like Ben-Hur. He was a Jewish guy. He had problems with the Romans.
Yeah, like I said, this first watch for me. I didn't realize how like religious this movie got at points. Like I just thought it was like a fantastical tale about some dude named Ben-Hur. I'm a complete pleb and didn't even realize that was his last name. He wasn't Ben-Hur. That was his surname.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Judah Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
I wonder what religion he
some
was.
of the desert.
Hmm.
Some of
I
the
hope
desert
I wish
scenes,
Whoopi Goldberg was here to help us with this. Sorry.
were going to
Yeah.
be filmed in Libya, but then the Libya found out it was going to be a Christian-centered movie, and they banned MGM from Libya.
That
So
sounds
they went
about
to
right.
Spain.
Spain, Libya, about the same.
Spain is fine.
First,
You got Roman
yeah.
stuff there too.
Yep.
Yeah,
And southern
good
Spain
choice.
is hot and dry.
So our governor, our president and leader may be the only remaining Axis guy in power, but it's safe here.
Oh yeah, Franco. Yep.
We all make a few mistakes, right,
There's
Francisco?
Mary and Joseph. Right there.
Yeah, just very subtly. It's just like, oh,
Yeah, so it goes through the Israelites going back to Israel
Now,
to be counted in the
Isn't
Roman
this
census.
Charlton
So-
Heston? Is he playing two roles in this?
Jesus,
No,
Mary and
uh-uh.
Joseph. That's who's
not
on screen right now. No, that's it does resemble him a bit, but that's not him.
Whoa.
Okay. I thought it was him, and then he was just going to play two roles.
Notice how they give her the white donkey, as is described in the gospel at the end when he rides into Jerusalem.
Yes.
Well, notice how this is Anno, however you say Latin for the year of the Lord. This is
Anno
the
Domini.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people are in Nazareth or Bethlehem. We know what they did that year.
And then when it goes to the next one, it says XX V1, which is 26.
26?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
26 years later is when the movie really starts up.
Okay, so JC hasn't gotten going yet. He gets
This-
going 4 years after that.
Right, yeah, he's 30, right? When he
That's
starts.
This movie
that's
is,
the accepted thing.
inclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. This was a big hit at Catholic school. This is the kind of thing
Yeah,
they
it
put
was.
on like when the teacher was out.
I like the effects with the star too.
Yeah,
Simple but effective.
it works.
All this is done in a very like passion play sort of way until like
Mhm.
some sort of realism sets in. And we made, what year was this one? 1958 or earlier?
59.
Well,
Okay,
59
so-
when it came out, but they filmed
Yeah,
it
58
in
when it
58
was
and
filmed, yeah.
59, yeah.
This important statement needs to be made then. What we consider method acting was not in vogue, and a lot of directors did not want or like it. So we're seeing theatrical like performances. This is still
Yeah.
second generation movie acting. It's not quite what we had in silent films, but this is generation 2 movie acting. Perfected, but it's not method acting at all.
So you're talking about like off of a stage. They like stage acting a little better.
More theatrical, more stage like. This is I mean, George, what do you call it? George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life is not method acting either, and he does a great job. You know, it's just that this is pre-modern approach. People were doing things in a different way. Like if they wanted a moment to be epic, you would compromise your character to help make it a more epic moment by standing in a different way or whatever. Like now a method actor would be like, no, my actor would never stand tall and look at the star. So these are the kind of little differences we have.
Yeah.
So just to go back just a little bit, it occurred to me while this is okay. So we know the story. The 3 wise men come. They're in the manger. You got all these people looking. But imagine if you just gave birth to somebody in the hospital. You know, all these people standing around. Like, what are you doing? Like people off the street, like peeking inside. And then it's the middle of the night, and everyone's asleep, and some dude gets his horn out, and it's like, "Rrrr."
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
When he blew that, I was sitting here watching it, and he blew that horn, and I literally, I said out loud, "The baby is sleeping."
Yeah, exactly. I can
Come
just
on,
imagine
dude.
it's like New York City. People like, people work around here.
Yeah, I'm working here. By the way, I just want to say I've seen graffiti better than this. I don't know who this artist was, but he should be ashamed of himself. This is a disgrace.
This
What a
is
wreck.
the roof of the Sistine Chapel, right?
Yeah, they can't fix that disaster. Come on,
Here it
Pope,
is.
what's
Yeah,
your thing?
Anno Domini XX V5.
Right, so that's a year of our Lord.
Yeah, 26. Yep.
Yep.
So it's 26 years after the birth of Christ.
Or maybe it's a 6-star XX movie. I don't know.
Yes. Here come the Romans. The
Back when
are coming.
you
The
actually
Romans are coming.
hired.
Oh,
I mean, this is even before later on, whenever we see when they really involve extras. But just this opening,
Mhm.
this is the old days where they had extras and they had warehouses full of these costumes.
Depth of
It's like,
field
hey,
is
you want to be an
incredible.
extra?
And by the way, there is no evidence the Romans had red capes. This is Hollywood. They might have. There's no evidence they didn't. It's just
Yeah.
that, like, the cell phones recovered from Pompeii had been so
Yeah.
damaged that all the pictures were in black and white. We just don't know.
Well, a lot of the outfits, they were inspired by artworks of like the Leonardo, or what's his name? The guy who did the
Talking
painting of
One of the turtles, not Donatello,
Yeah, from-
not
right.
Raphael. Was it Leonardo da Vinci
yes,
or Michelangelo?
and
Yeah, it's probably
Michelangelo.
Yeah, that's
There
the
you
one.
go.
Yeah.
Michelangelo. Yeah.
Also,
Carved the statue of that
the
naked
Trajan's
guy.
column in Rome has depictions of soldiers, so they kind of know what they look like. And it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
contemporary.
And,
What
but I
picture
mean, like,
is
it's
that beard?
I have not
Don't worry
heard of
about it.
anything like like somebody going in there with scientific equipment and raising up some red paint off the cloaks. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we know what that gear looked like, but we ain't got any idea what color it was.
And
I mean,
this
we don't
part
know.
right here where he's asking, how come my table isn't done yet? And he's like, oh, my son's out walking around in the desert. And he's like,
By the
shouldn't
way,
he been in here working?
Capes get stuck on things. I don't think you want a cape stuck on something in the middle of combat.
Yeah, I know. Remember Gazer Beam?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Splashdown.
Gazer beam.
Let's
You
not
gotta know
sell
the
the. Let's
No
just remember
capes.
here, though, as an Italian myself, I'm an Italian American. I'm not totally Italian, but like the tiniest people in all of Europe took over most of it. So they were pretty good at war. They
Yeah.
had fun with this stuff. This was their
Yeah.
idea of a good time.
But
Look at
yeah,
the-
so he says that he's out in the desert, and he said, well, what's he doing out there? He says he's doing his father's work. And he's like, well, shouldn't he been in here doing the table? And but you just remember like those things from like Sunday
Yeah.
school or my grandmother teaching me.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I
they
was
start out really subtle with that
Jay's
kind of
right
stuff.
here, by the
Later
way.
on, towards the
I'm not
end,
gonna-
like the
I'm
lead
not
up
going to
to
mention
it.
anything about this shot here.
Yeah,
Jay's right, by the way. There are
There.
pictures like in Pompeii and stuff with things in color. I don't think we have a colored depiction of a soldier. Like I've
Hey,
heard
Gemma.
that's like in doubt. It may have been handed down to us through history, though.
Well, yeah, that too, and they also know that a lot of the statues were painted. They all look marble now,
That's
but back then they know they
yeah,
were.
like
That's
like
what
for
I'm saying.
example, the
We might
we might
Colosseum
get
would
an
have.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
Also, this was only like 14 years after the war, and so these guys are doing the Roman salute. Nowadays, you couldn't do it. People would be like, "Oh, what are they doing?" People were
Yeah.
smart enough
I'm
to know
doing
that
it
they
right
would
now.
be, you know,
well,
what really
that's where
happened back
the
then.
Nazis got it from too.
It is. Same with Mussolini. He copied all this Roman stuff.
Yeah.
Well, to be
As a
fair,
matter of
he could fairly be called an inheritor.
Right.
yeah,
And that, like, just
Yeah.
with the fast team, which is the axe with the bunch of sticks around it, that was a symbol of office for the Romans, which is
It
where
was
he
called.
took that, and that's where you get the word fascism from.
I was gonna say we're gonna say the word, huh? Way to go, man! All right, we give no fucks, we're taking no prisoners. I got the way we're going here. We're at the 19-minute mark. Cursing is slightly allowed.
Watch the
I'll
language.
try not to do it again.
Watch the
I'll try not to do it
language.
again. We already said the
I'll
worst
pull out
one we
my
could say, but
Captain
okay.
America language.
I understood that reference.
So this is the new.
So
He's taken over for him, right?
Consort.
Yeah.
I forget his
We need to
title.
crush the. Yeah, we'll hear it here in a minute.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah, I don't
something.
know if
It's
they
not
had-
like super in charge, but he definitely has authority.
I don't
It
know
is-
if they
I forget
had
exactly what it is.
padding like that under the armor.
They would.
I'm
They
sorry,
did.
I could. Okay, they did good. Okay,
Yeah.
I could go off on the armor not looking right, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. 'Cause the armor. I mean, you wouldn't want it to chafe, and then
Oh no, huh? Segmentada.
Yeah, I don't know. I can dig further and actually find his title, but I can't find it at the moment. But yeah, he was apparently he was the his father when he was a kid was the governor of Judea, and he was sent back
Yeah.
here as a plan to kind of like get everything in line as a
Tribune.
proper Roman.
His title is Tribune.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know if they should have thrown that title in there. He could have been like, assistant to the royal governor. Tribune, that means that you're part of the triumvirate of three running the Roman Empire, which I do not believe was in existence at this point. We are still a little bit before Caesar. This is the end
Hey,
of the
love
I
it.
don't think they've gone empire yet. Wait, no, Caesar's 43 BC. All right, so yeah, we're early empire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Caesar's been dead for a while,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah,
already.
sorry about that one.
Yeah.
Took a minute for the brain to snap in on that one.
Snorta
I'll
Poopa
still
says
never
the
get it.
governor was a
Big
prefectus and he was a
So-
tribunus. So
All right, so we might be juggling around these weird ways of running the Roman Empire now. It ends up in one power struggle after another until we fought. We should probably have like Augustus by now, actually. It's not Tiberius.
You could also call him Masala because that's his name.
yes.
And he's friends
This
with Ben-Hur.
parallels Ten Commandments. This parallels Ten Commandments. We have two guys. They're sort of like brothers. They're close. One is simply far kinder than the other, and like they are going to be driven apart by things that they both have in common that they both want.
That
It
that
mirrors-
actually was kind of a reoccurring thing in the Bible too. Because Jacob and Esau and who else?
Yeah.
Well, let's remember the guy who
Cain
wrote this
and
was
Abel.
probably reading the Bible in Latin and Greek to make sure he didn't get anything wrong. Like, we're
Probably.
talking like serious biblical scholarship went into this movie, but this movie is a fanciful tale that is just wrapped through the Bible timeline. More modern audiences might remember Guildenstern and Rosencrantz are dead. This is kind of like that.
I also wonder how closely the movie follows the actual book that he wrote. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like the Lord of the Rings movies with the Lord of the Rings books. So
Yeah.
I'm sure this is
Yeah.
compressed and things are changed a little bit here and there, but it doesn't. In my opinion, it doesn't affect the movie. A, because I haven't read the book, so I don't know the difference. But B, the movie doesn't suck. So
They gave the general like third billing credit and called him general in the credits though, so I think it's a really big deal. I think it was probably a big deal. And also I'm seeing something here. It's like one of the people involved in this movie, one of the producers, seems to be Sam Zimbalist. That means he's the father of like weird Ephraim Zimbalist, I think.
Yeah.
I like how they just do
My
this
mom's
little
told me that
like
joke.
this challenge here towards a door. It's like better hope you just don't come randomly walking through that door when somebody throws the spear off target.
Tribute.
By the way, guys, like Lord of the Rings quality sets, we got to give them that. These
Oh,
are
yeah.
like
These-
whatever
yeah,
problems
the
this movie
sets are
has,
great.
believability is not one of it.
right.
Yeah. They put in the effort. That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
the sea battle scene is a little like it's dated to us now, but back then that would have been like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And
The
it
sea
is.
battle scene has
Yeah,
the
with
sea
the
battle
models
scene
and all that,
problem.
yeah.
The sea battle scene problem is this, ladies and gentlemen. A drop of water is only just so big, right? And it only goes just so small.
Yeah.
There's a size that a drop of water wants to be and won't really go below. So
Yeah.
try as you may, that's how you give away the scale of your ship. In Titanic, their ship model was what, like 110 feet long. They overcame that. In this, like their 30-foot boats, like a drop of water still betrayed it. They did their
Yeah.
best, but it's a lot of times you just have to like shrug off that this naval scene is going to have to be sold by the acting of the actors, and there's a lot of good acting during that part.
To be fair,
and a lot of good
the
music.
model boats were big.
They
Were
did
pretty
do look
big,
good,
but you
and the
can still
sets
tell.
were like they're in
Oh.
there rowing and stuff. I mean, we're getting ahead, but that looked really good too. But like this hallway, right? It's got real flame. It's not like vents like blowing up paper that's flapping
Right.
with lights behind it or anything.
If they did that, they did it great, and it's got it's got such depth. It's like later on in movies like say Batman '89, we see Tim Burton using sets this big. These are gigantic sets. And look at the shot. It's a medium shot, and they're still like they're not lost in the set, but this set is still almost a character in the scene.
Yeah, it's
And look-
believable as an actual location.
Shadow of a jail cell or shadow of many crosses?
Ooh.
Yeah. So these two people have not seen each other since they were boys,
Yes.
and
And
Masala
obviously,
is warming
Yeah.
up to him to get him to help him crush the anti-Roman stuff going on in Jerusalem.
Yeah, because he's been sent back to basically get everything up to Roman standards as far as obeying the
He's been
laws and taxes, etc.
he's been to Yahtzee Roman finishing school, and he's come back with something to prove. Is the best way to put it. And
Yeah.
he doesn't care how many people he hurts, and this is freaking out Ben-Hur or Judah Ben-Hur.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
And
talking
because
about
despite them being very opposing in their beliefs and everything, they have a certain amount of respect for each other and admiration. Because like when Judah is first announced as like the Prince Her or whatever, one of the other guys makes a derogatory comment towards him, and Masala turns and scolds him for that. It's like, you will treat him with respect. Uh, so
yeah.
that certain amount of not just friendship, respect there, but obviously Masala's legion or his allegiance is to Rome above all, as we
And
see in a little while.
how do we put this delicately? You could have a sign in your hotel saying no people from a certain part of the world allowed to stay in this hotel. And that was just fine when this movie came out. We're only starting to question that in American society now. So this is just is what it is. So the fact that they're sort of calling him out is like, you're different, you're not that Roman, you're not adhering to us. People may have had divided opinions on Ben-Hur's feelings, and that may have been part of the appeal that made this a generational success. Like, he's conflicted. Like, Rome is good, but look how many horrible things Masala is willing to do, and he's shocked at how Rome has changed his friend. Because I guess what we're supposed to believe is Masala was a pretty nice little kid.
I mean, this is not exactly like a backwater city, but it's kind of like whenever your friend goes off to like a big city college and comes back and they're completely different in how they see the world.
It has to be either Nazareth or Bethlehem, based on the fact that we saw Joseph and Mary, and she's like pretty far gone, right?
Uh, this is 26 years after that, though.
Well, no, in the opening sequence when we establish what town we're in. Or do you think we just threw that on there so we could have a Jesus moment?
I think that was setting the stage that's going to be part of the story later on. I don't think that's actually where they are, but I may be wrong. I did watch this at like a high speed.
Right now they're in Jerusalem.
Okay. That makes the most sense, doesn't it? Jerusalem would have had a chariot race track, but I think we end up getting back to Rome for that part.
Right. But yes, they do. It's a major city. It's got the temple there, seat of the leadership of the country, both for the Romans and for the Judeans. So
yeah.
So
how do we say these words
that
are so controversial because of circumstances in the world without getting in trouble? We're in Bible land, ladies and gentlemen.
Since they last talked, Ben-Hur has talked to other leaders of the Israeli people, and he's like, there's some who don't like, and Masala's like, who are they? Because he wants Ben-Hur to inform on who they are so he can get rid of them.
Yeah, he immediately jumps to like a like an interrogation tone, not like he's asking a legitimate question, like he wants to know so he can go talk to them. He wants to know so he can go after them.
Right. And Ben-Hur's having none of it.
I mean, that would be like, asking your best friend to narc on your other friends just because they're not necessarily best friend level. That doesn't mean you really want to do it.
Yeah.
And like you can tell that look on his face. He's like he's betrayed. Like he trusted this guy.
Yeah. They have words.
Yeah, they have a few. And they don't exactly part amicably.
No. And some of the looks they're giving each other is like, "Ew, if looks could kill."
Yeah. It doesn't help that Charlton Heston has that brow. That brow could kill.
No. Yeah.
And his poor sister, who's got a crush on Masala, is like, "Where is he?" He's like, "He's not coming back. We're done. I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me."
He's gone to the Caesar Youth, and he's not the same person.
Is it me, or does the actress that plays the mother and the actress that plays the sister, they actually look like each other? Like they could act, you know what I mean? Like that could really be her mother. This way their face
Yeah,
is
it
shaped.
does.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, she seems to be wearing kind of a very Roman hairstyle.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely an influence.
I mean, there's a certain amount of fitting in they have to do. They're not exactly just like your average person. They've got a certain amount of status.
Also, one of the things that the Romans were renowned for was Romanizing people, right? So it wasn't just we conquer you, now you're our slaves and do whatever. They brought in wine and commerce and culture and engineering and aqueducts and all this other stuff, and it got people hooked on having nice things, and so it encouraged people to, if you were the right kind of people that they liked, you got Romanized, and it brought civilization, culture, and those things.
Yep.
Also, contact with other parts of the
You
world.
could make them like you.
Yeah.
You just had to. You could make them like you. Here's the rules, right? In the ancient world, they didn't think this through too much. It was like, we beat you because we were intended to. The reason we were intended to is because our gods are simply stronger than your gods. Your gods are real, but we just kicked their ass. So how about this? We have a new temple, right? We put our God on top, your God underneath, because we kicked his ass. Let's face it, if you were worshiping our God, you would have won. So you worship our gods, we'll put yours in, the reliquary on the hill, and everyone will be happy. We'll be one big happy family. And if you act like us and take some Romanish names, we'll leave you more or less alone and let you vote. And this works almost everywhere else because of paganism. But when they get to Bible land, they're like, we have one God. We're not going to put our God under yours, one of your people, and we don't make statues.
Yeah, and one of your people can be the governor. But if you mess with us, we'll send in our military and our puppet governor.
Well, they consider themselves highly antagonized and using a puppet governor already because they have not done the thing where they have carved a representation of their own god, which is against their religion, to put underneath the representation of Jupiter and Zeus and all the other people who he got his ass kicked by in the thought process of an ancient general. I mean, we're talking about these guys cut out goat entrails and read the signs in them before they attacked. I mean, they were pretty superstitious. So if you wouldn't make with what they wanted, which is your paganism has to be subjected to our paganism. And by the way, if you're another pagan, that makes sense. Like, we just lost. Their gods are stronger. I'm getting down with this cult of Zeus. And that was just how their appeal spread. When they get to the Holy Land, there's all these prohibitions about doing that. They're not going to make a representation of Yahweh. They're not going to put your God above theirs, because the first thing they say is, I am the Lord their God, you'll have no false God before me. So this leads to, they can never really, and the movie has sort of been recast to a degree about the integration of American society. It's mirroring the world they lived in then, but they were good writers who lived in a more interesting time.
Yeah.
Also,
now this guy is his servant. Go ahead.
Yes.
I was going to say this is his caravan master, but he's
his slave too.
Yeah, he's also a slave. Yeah, so that's just how things were back then.
Well, I mean, and there were also different. There were different levels of that too. There was indentured servitude, which technically was slave, but they treated you nicer.
He had job security. I don't know what you guys are talking about here. By the way, they did pass a law briefly in Rome where they were going to make all the slaves wear belts. There was a short period of that. It freaked the Romans out because the slaves were able to visually identify each other, and they realized they themselves were really outnumbered. So they got rid of that rule right away. Yeah, well, they're like, we're actually just put a uniform on people who have a vested interest in seeing our government fall, and there's a lot more of them than us.
Yeah. And let's put them in their
that history degree is going to come in use.
Work.
I get to use that history degree every once in a while. You know what? In their military for citizenship, it kind of did work. It works so well that has been adopted by the United States military thousands of years later. That's considered valid. Like, if you want to be, you believe in our way of life, you'll fight for us. All right. Do it for long enough, we'll make you one of us. And the Romans were cool that way, and they were also cool with adoption. They're a little more civilized than a lot of their neighbors, but their paganistic streak can never be reconciled with this monotheism thing going on here, which I've always had a problem with. But just kidding. I mean, obviously, I'm a Catholic.
This is his daughter, this guy's daughter, which has Ben-Hur has kind of a
Esther is her name.
Yes, Esther.
A very biblical name.
Yes.
And one of the, I think, probably few principal cast members that was actually born in that area. Unlike a guy we see later on who is very clearly painted be darker.
Oh wait, is she Spanish or Lebanese? Since we talked about where this movie was filmed. She's obviously she's like from Bible land.
Yes.
She's beautiful. I'd do it.
Very.
How old is she now? Like 98? I got a shot.
Call me.
You know what? Then I really got a shot.
So
what you're saying is that there's no saying no.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
But yeah, she's been... they've arranged a marriage for her. And he's giving her freedom as a wedding gift because they basically have to go get permission from him for her to leave his service as his servant or slave, whatever. I guess technically slave. And to leave his service to go be wed to somebody else. But obviously, she's not super happy about it.
Yeah, I would have offered her something more tangible, like bigger boobs or something as a gift. Like, I'll pay for it. Congratulations. But I don't know about the freedom thing. I mean, that's a commodity.
So he kind of likes her a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
She's also in the only 5 minutes where she has self-determination, though. She has her freedom, but she's not married yet.
Yeah. He takes her slave ring, I guess, that marks her as a slave, and takes it for himself. So he says he'll keep it until he finds some of the woman that he wants to marry. The foreshadowing's strong there.
Which I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Which I don't know how he kept that ring through his incarceration.
Ask Christopher Walken.
The Romans had iron wedding rings. The Romans had iron wedding rings. There was probably no motivation to steal it. So, I don't know. Maybe that's how?
I don't know. So this is the new governor, right?
I think so, yes.
I think.
I got to say, he looks like a fantastic guy.
Yeah. Shiny.
Everybody is so... I was about to say, everybody is so shiny. When the sun hits the army just right, you can't look at them.
Shinies. See, if we were looking at this as the Clone Wars, they're shinies. They're new.
Yeah, yeah.
They haven't seen combat.
George Lucas looked at all these shots when he made that. Let's not kid ourselves. That looks kind of Clone Wars there. If we make them stormtroopers, it's perfect.
It does.
Look, we'll get into the pod race and the chariot race later on. But yeah, he shows up.
Absolutely. I have a Sebulba joke ready to go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but he shows up and he's like, "What? No delegation?" And he's Miss Hall's like, they're not really happy that you're here, but don't worry, they'll be under control."
Yeah.
So he was
Yeah, that
expecting like a
implies
big
that they
welcome
would
from
have
the
killed
city.
him. Did you take that to imply that maybe they were ready? He didn't want the leaders around because what he heard was they hate the Romans. So why let him, like, he's got to kind of keep him away from like Roman number one.
I think it was more that none of them wanted to show up, and he was just telling him like,
I thought
yeah,
he-
they're not happy that you're here, but anyway.
I
And
thought
there's a
maybe he
nice
didn't trust him.
there's a nice little thing here. It's a little bit of foreshadowing that if you haven't seen this, which I hadn't, it could have just been like, oh, that was a loose piece of set when she put her hand on that tile and when she walked over to the other side. It's subtle enough that it could be believable that it was just part of the set that was moving, because the sets obviously were built as fast as possible. They were meant to last for the shoot, but not beyond that. So sometimes things broke. But it was a nice little bit of this is going to happen later.
This is why you use a licensed bonded contractor, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See,
And it hits the general, the new governor.
I'm just saying, if that roof wasn't so sloped.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That
moving
roof
on.
is totally accurate, though. I mean, they did just lay the slates on them
It
there
is.
like that. Think about the Mediterranean atmosphere. They're heavy enough not to get blown away. Those roofs, those slate roofs are pretty accurate, historically accurate to this period.
Yeah, he does the good big brother thing. He's like, look, you don't say anything. It was an accident. I know it's an accident, but he knows that they're not going to believe it's an accident.
By the way, I've just seen this right here. I'll throw this at you. This movie was so heralded it had a $14.7 million marketing campaign in 1959. That's not adjusted for inflation. That's $14.7 million more than Agatha.
So he comes in and doesn't even say anything. He knows that it was an accident, but he's going to use it to squash rebellion.
Well, even before this is before he actually gets up there and sees that there actually is loose tiles. He just doesn't care. Like, he's fully holding a grudge right now. I don't even think this is about squashing a rebellion yet. Right now, he's just holding a grudge. Later on, he justifies it as using him as an example to squash a rebellion.
Right.
Doesn't it have like a weird? This hadn't happened yet, but it almost had a weird. Like, you were on the 5th floor of the bookstore depository when the shots were fired. No one else, you know.
Okay.
Multiple roof tile throwers. You know.
There was somebody behind that dusty knoll.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw somebody
they call him Shield Man. He's holding a Roman shield.
Yeah, but it's very clear right there. He's like, oh yeah, this probably was an accident, but he just doesn't care. Does not care at all.
By their law, they may still be liable anyway. The 12 tables of Rome are lost to history. So, like, your house fell on somebody important. You may just be screwed for that. This is the ancient world. It didn't have to be logical. He might have just been like, meh, build a better house, guys.
If your house falls on somebody these days, you're probably still liable. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not my landlord, but yeah.
He's been in a jail cell. And they've already sentenced him, and they just come in. You're going to be a rower on one of our warships.
Sentenced like, to the galley.
Yeah, I thought they were sending him to the kitchen. I'm like, all right, finally get the square meal. But yeah, this is, I guess, probably pretty bad. I don't know how common this kind of punishment was, because Rome built navies as needed. They mostly just had merchant ships going back and forth to Egypt, bringing them wheat.
He tries to escape here, and he gets whacked with the cell keys. That would hurt.
That'll take you out. Jay says,
No,
I'm in Kansas. I have a liability exception if my house falls on a witch. That's a good thing to have. That's good.
By the way, if you could notice there, you could see I had scratched my name into the wall at an earlier stay at this lockup.
So he does escape and makes it to what's his name's office. You can't tell me that a couple of these guys are dead. I mean, the guy that fell off the walkway.
Oh yeah. If he's not, he's gonna wish he was.
And then he chokes a guy. So.
Yeah, I think Ben-Hur's rules of murder are kind of similar to Batman's. Like, he doesn't want to kill you, but if you're between him and his goal and you got to go, well, he'll throw you off a freaking cliff.
If
you force him to
they're
throw you...
sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bat nap.
Huh.
But just, as I'm looking at the movie poster for this, like, Metro Goldwyn Mayer couldn't have been more proud of it. A Tale of the Christ is really prominent above the primary logo, but the name of the 19th century playwright is the largest of all. So this is promising people what they were hearing about this fancy play in New York and San Francisco and London.
Mm. I mean, this kind of makes sense. It goes to the one man that he could plead his case to, and he's he's reaching for that last little bit of friendship that they have.
Yeah,
that is already gone. He just doesn't realize it yet.
And by the way, for a non-method actor using acting methods that we would consider wrong and incorrect today, both of these guys managed to be extremely powerful and convincing. I feel like I'm watching what we see.
Yeah. And also, this is something you would never see today, even though it is very clearly offset for quote-unquote safety purposes.
You're talking about his Glock?
That's still throwing a spear right past your co-star's head.
You'd see it today.
It's great stunt work. My guess is this: it was always on a wire from end to end, and it sucked into the wall, so he was never in danger as long as he moved.
Yeah,
but just very quickly on the spear, you notice how the shaft is a bit thicker than the tip there. That is actually a little bit smaller than proportion of reality. The idea of these, they were called pilons. Remember NHL player Rich Pilon? Yes. They're called pilons, and they were two different kinds. One was a little weighted, and one was a kind of a three throw. The idea of this was the first one wrecks your spear, the other one sticks you into the ground because they can't be thrown back. If you throw spears at your enemy, you have given them a weapon. This one, if it gets you in the spear, it gets you in the shield, you got to throw it away. It bends down and makes your shield useless, and it's a useless spear. Yeah. And if it gets you, well, you're not throwing it back. And if it hits the ground, it breaks.
Yeah. So he's like, if you kill me, you'll mother and sister will be crucified in front of you. So he's like, oh, well, better not do that then.
I mean, this is before TV too, so he gave up what could have been an entertaining afternoon.
See, I don't think that was on a line. I think that was soft wood, so he didn't have to actually throw it hard.
Yeah.
But he definitely threw it. And
because he's like,
I'm going to continue to believe that fishing wire pulled it in there because we're talking about maybe hurting one of the stars. You take this guy's face off, you're not going to be able to finish your movie.
I mean, if you film this scene first, then if there's a problem, you just recast it. So you just do this scene first.
That's true. Yeah, do this one first. Yeah. You know what? We're going to pay you after the movie, too. Just very quickly, that was not doubled, though. I think we saw both our actors' faces. So if Chuck did make that throw, he made a fucking great throw. Way to go. Put him on the Olympic team.
Yeah. And you do kind of see that it is soft wood when he... See if we can get it here. Come on.
Yeah, because when he pulls it out, it pulls part of the board out, which also makes sense because if they had to do multiple takes, they wouldn't want to have to rebuild that entire cabinet, just the part that they were intending to hit.
Yeah.
And the inaccurate part is that at the point where it hit the wall, it would have bent at the shaft, as we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, the smallest people in Europe taking it all over. This is because they were extremely ruthless and learned from everyone they fought. If you had an interesting weapon, next people that the Romans showed up to fight would find that your interesting weapon was now part of their milieu and improved
Yeah,
and
right.
even worse.
You know what
They
the,
loved war the way the Yankees love baseball, guys. Win or lose, they just wanted to play.
you know what the Romans had that was besides their army that was better than anything in the Western world at the time was their bureaucracy. It's what allowed them
Yeah.
and their administration. It's what allowed
And
them
their
to
records,
manage
yeah.
such a large empire. Is the effectiveness of that
They
bureaucracy,
fed those armies, exactly.
right? Administration. Well, it's just the record keeping and controlling it all with like paperwork and stuff, and their logistical reach,
You
of
know,
course.
in a world where you lived approximately 30 years on average, and I don't know if that takes infant mortality into account or not, but where you live 30 years of average, remember, there's no dentist. Like, that's going to kill you, you know? Like, everything
Yeah.
you've ever had fixed, you would still have in this world. That boil on your back, you got lanced? No, that's there forever. So people didn't live very long in this time. So to sign up for the Roman army at 20 for a 20-year hitch, you really were just like, how much better was being at war than just waiting around for something bad to happen? Cities had plagues, cities get attacked. Like, you're better off joining the military.
This poor fella comes in to, kind of speak on Ben-Hur's behalf. He's like, hold him till we can interrogate him. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
okay.
His
And
lawyer
this
was
is
of the right
also-
persuasion, but it didn't help him, right?
It's also
Yeah,
a
right.
nod to how good of a person that Judah Ben-Hur is that these people who are technically his slaves try to come to his rescue.
Well, I think one of the things we're finding out here, right, is that from the point of view of Masala and everyone else, from Masala's point of view, Ben-Hur is evil. Like, slackers like him letting their slaves go free, being too nice to people and not enforcing the will of Caesar is why we've got this problem. We have to do these things. So, like, he's got a grudge against the guy. And I think he
Yeah.
would have taken his helmet off at this point, by the way. He's Italian. He would have had some nice Fendi sunglasses. Well, guys, the good news here is I am part Irish, but I also tested positive for Ashkenazi DNA, so I'm part Italian too. So all jokes are on the table for this movie. We have joke telling immunity through me.
Yeah.
Mortality screws the average lifespan in this era. If you made it to 5 years old, you had a pretty good chance of making it to 60 plus. I tend to agree with that. Otherwise, why would anyone ever join the Roman army? People wouldn't have been so stupid that they couldn't count to 30. You could do
Yeah.
well, you could pull that one off.
One of the main attractive things about joining the Roman army was it was a steady pay. You got cash.
Yeah.
Actually, your salary, the
right.
word salary comes from what they were given because they were paid partially in salt, the word for which is saline or something close to that
Right.
in Roman.
But
So
they-
that's
they-
where salary comes from.
But like
yeah.
most other people, money, they would get paid in food or other services, but money was like not a normal thing that you got regularly. Maybe you had to sell your crops, so you only got paid like half a year or something. Whereas,
Well, this army's different. Remember, you have to pay to get in and show up with your sword and your shield. They've got to be good enough, and you've got to be able to pass several physical months of rigorous training. They did not just throw people out in the field. That's why they keep winning.
right,
and also
it took
the
5 years to become a legionary from a recruit. 5 full years.
But not that
So,
those
yeah.
recruits
So
didn't
this
take
guy-
part in battle. But you're
Right.
right.
This guy's
Yeah,
like, no water for him. It's like
Yeah, they're
has a
trying to kill.
grudge
They're
against
trying
this guy.
outright to kill him.
yeah.
By the way, you guys like the fact it's
And then
period
this-
accurate if you just skip like one haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is Jesus here.
It's my pal Jesus.
Well, they never come out and specifically say
No,
that that's him. So if you had no idea about the Bible, who Jesus was, or anything, you would know this is an important person, but you wouldn't know who it is. But for most
Yeah.
people that have grown up with any small amount of Christianity, it's obvious who it is.
And they
It's
definitely
Captain
do
Pike
tend
from the
towards,
original Star Trek.
they definitely do tend towards the
Yeah.
traditional like Catholic look of him,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
that kind of gives that makes him so recognizable from behind. But yet they never show his face, even at one point where it is a very awkwardly like done in post shadow on his face when he's getting sentenced. But they
Yeah.
make it clear that he is not really the focus of this story, even though he kind of is towards the end of it.
Well, isn't it
just-
taking on?
this guy.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
He's got a Medusa head and nipple rings. That's great.
Well, it's supposed to freeze your enemy with fear in battle.
Yeah.
They believe that like reproducing it. Yeah, Alexander had that too. So it's a little weird that they put it on a Roman, but he's a Roman of rank.
Yeah. Well, they did not just take technologies from people. They took some of their religions from.
They would take a couple of your good ideas if they thought they had them. I think they did take the idea the Greeks had of painting eyes on the front of a boat so the boat could see where it was going.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That's what that weird pattern was in the front of Greek boats.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You would think it was just two weird circles or maybe their faction. No, they painted eyes on things that had to move so that the things would move correctly. Yeah, they've dropped that. But this is a pretty, like we said, pretty awesome and almost kind of a little bit like the Star Trek people and the Star Wars people definitely watched this. Let's put it that way.
And like you said earlier, you can definitely tell that the scale is off here from the water to the boats, but
The waves
still,
are wrong.
all things
Yeah.
considered, they did a fantastic job for the time. They didn't
We got
spare any
dozens of
expense.
12-foot models that we're going to burn, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
We're going to burn
Yeah.
and crush and destroy all of these 10 and 12-foot models in a great way. It's going to be a ton of fun, and that's what this movie's really all about, not showing us a large naval force. So yeah, most of this battle, like in Star Trek, we just see them reacting to what's going on inside, but the drama is effective.
So here comes this guy. He's the head of this. What do you call it? Armada?
He's like, yeah, taking command of the fleet or whatever. And I mean,
These Romans
it's
are red
a little
shirts.
thing
It just hit me.
that it's a little thing here, but he noticed this one guy's sick, and it's not that he sends him to go get treatment and not do his job right there, because it's like a combination. It's like he's treating him well because he needs him to be useful. I mean, if it was somebody who he just was really careless and just used his slaves as a tool and didn't care if they were healthy and just would replace them later on, he would have left him there. So it kind of gives us a little bit of an inkling that he's maybe not the worst person that's out there.
It's also scientifically pragmatic because it won't spread a plague throughout the other guys, because the
Right.
guy next to him, chain next to him, is catching that next, right? So he's might be stopping an epidemic. You got to be smart about this stuff in the ocean here. And I don't know how
Yeah.
much metal I'd be wearing in the ocean. And maybe I'd go with the leather armor, you know.
Yeah.
He definitely identifies a little bit of defiance in 41. Yeah, that's his number, 41's face there.
Yes.
And he was so close to being the answer to, life, love, and everything in the universe.
Was 41 George
Yeah.
H. Bush?
One short.
No, it's Jimmy Carter. Happy birthday, Jimmy Carter, in 2 weeks. There's Jimmy right there. As you can see, there's Jimmy Carter. He's middle-aged in this picture from 2,000 years
Looks
ago.
like Trump in
And
his-
then next to him is Joe Biden. Also in this picture, we see Biden on this boat from 2000. I'm sorry, 1009. No, 2003 years ago. I think. No, wait. If this is 27 AD and this is 2024 now, how long ago is this movie? 2019 years? He was only 2 exactly. Jay had it nailed. Do you think they wanted
I
John
just
Wayne
have
for
to
this?
say, the down under there probably didn't smell very good.
Oh, definitely
Although
not.
growers down there.
Oh no.
By the way, this kicks off a bunch of these kind of movies, though. Like, they have to start making Cleopatra
Yeah, it
at
does.
the other
Right.
movie house.
Wasn't there one called like Barabbas, and then
Barabbas is later
Yeah.
on, if it's the
Yeah.
one I saw. That has Anthony Quinn.
Yeah,
And that's
that was actually
a
just
very
that was recommended me by
interest-
Jay.
yeah,
It's deeply interesting. I'll give it that. It's deeply interesting.
Yeah, it is.
yep.
It
They
might
have
not
all
be the
these,
fastest or greatest movie, though.
and
So
then and then they start
got-
having all the Sinbad ones too.
See, look, they had rock and roll back then, too. If they just had a bass player and a guitar player, I would have said, this is like, why are we treating these prisoners like giving them free music? Why is it so easy for them?
I gotta say, watching this segment at like 2 times speed was pretty funny.
Yeah. Goodness. They knew how to row back then.
That's right.
You know what? No one gives the drummer any credit either. I mean, he's the guy really doing all the work here.
He's got to keep a steady beat, or that ship is just not going to get where it needs to go.
While he's wearing that leather hood, you know, I mean, come on, let's give this guy some credit.
This is a nice little bit too,
And he's
because
making them all
this
do
guy's
this
new
just
on the ship, so he's like going through the drills to like figure out like the strong points and the weak points among his rowers.
Well, he's also
he's
seeing
all-
how strong Ben-Hur is, too.
Yes.
Because
Right. But
I think this was more for him, more to see how he would handle it.
I think he's doing all these things to
'Cause
his ship
he-
because
he
he's a smart
owns
sailor.
Slaves and
I think he's just
Yeah,
observing
yeah.
shit too. You know what I mean? Like, he was going to do this on any boat
Yeah.
he was on, put it through the paces, see how fast it could go, see how much it could do, you know, try to perform as best as he could. But yeah, like, he's learning other stuff too.
Yeah, he wants to see
Like,
how
he's
effective
competent.
Is like what the effectiveness of his vessel is with his crew
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all that.
But
That's what he's
I
doing.
I think Jacob's
also
probably
noticing
right
that-
too.
he would be a good fighter in the arena. Or,
Yeah, because he said he has gladiators, so I think you're right, Jacob. That he's probably not necessarily looking at 41 or Judah there, Ben-Hur, but maybe just all of them to see which
Yeah,
ones
it's like an
might be
audition
worth.
for all.
No,
Like-
and he's
Yeah.
probably assessing a lot of things with this.
Yeah,
He's looking for people who are going to cause him freaking problems too, like non-hackers and people who talk shit. Like, I'm serious. Like, this guy's supposed to be presented as a competent sailor or general, right? So of
Yeah.
course he's noticing all these other things because he's no idiot. And he's just like, I like if like Judah Ben-Hur's got the defiance and he's pretty damn strong.
Jay.
Get
You're
your
Richard J.
damn
Fonda
filthy
workout.
hands off me,
That's right.
damn dirty ape.
Yeah. He makes that movie in 9 years after this one, which is absolutely
Actually, 4,009 years.
well, yeah,
Yes.
great movie,
Time
great
travel,
music.
man. Time
Yeah.
travel.
And again, we're not seeing, rather, we're seeing every dime of money on screen. Think about the Rings of Power and this.
I try not to.
Every, as far as
Yes.
production quality,
Sure.
like every dime is on screen.
Yeah,
And, you know,
Yeah.
Charlton Heston, at this point, the ladies are loving him. So this is for you, ladies. You know, I hope you enjoy during this review. Young Charlton Heston was
Well-
quite a hunk, they say. I mean,
and it sounds like a dumb thing to point out. Some people might think it's a dumb thing to point out, but the fact that all the rowers are in shape but not like bulky, because obviously they're being fed enough to do their job, but not enough to be
Yeah,
like
right.
super healthy and build muscle and such. It's a little detail like that
Arnold.
that kind of
they're
adds
getting
to it.
just enough food. Yeah.
But yeah, he was told after his shift to come report here and surprise the dude while he's asleep. And he's basically like, "Why didn't you attack me?" He's like, "Where would I go?"
Right.
But yeah, he's pitching the idea of like how you could come fight for me as a gladiator.
Was he
They will make a
playing
movie
possum
about
to
you.
see how much? Did tell you not entertained? Was he playing possum to see if maybe Ben-Hur was like a piece of crap?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I got the impression that he legitimately
He
had
might have
fallen
had too
asleep.
much wine and fell asleep.
Yeah,
It happens. Romans get drunk. It happens.
Yeah.
Also, Roman get drunk.
These shots were very cool, I thought.
Yeah,
Them
the
off in
wide shots on the
distance and
sea.
the skies, and it's pretty cool.
He did do a
There's
great
the
job with
pirates
that.
they're after.
These pirates are going to hand the Roman army their asses. Do they have Saracen sails? Are they triangular with the red stripe?
I'm not sure.
Yes. I don't know if they have a red
I had
stripe.
thought so. Yeah, okay, but they're Saracen style sails, right? You're pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty sure.
The idea that the Romans have a piracy problem is laughable, though. They just would have overwhelmed and attacked the base on land.
They did have problems with pirates pretty bad at certain points in their history, but so they unchain him, and he's like, why did he do that?
I think it's more they go through and like chain everybody, but not him, right? Is that
Right. Everybody's chained.
like they
but
skip
him.
him? Okay, yeah.
Something goes wrong, yeah, it's a fluke. And here's the thing, he neither says anything or anything. Like, he's just like, either something will come of this or it won't.
Yeah, one of the
Weird
guys
stuff,
next
though.
to him says something along the lines of why do you think he did that? And he goes, I don't know. And he just kind of like starts looking around. But he's not calling attention to it, obviously.
There is a tent to let him go.
Or at the very least,
Yeah, Jay is correct about that, by the way. You know what revolutionized that shit for them was they figured out how to get close enough to the other ship and drop a ramp and turn it into a hand-to-hand engagement. They couldn't figure out how to. They were just not good at sea. They're never good with bows and arrows. It's just not a Roman
They invented
thing.
it was called the corvus. So it was a plank with an iron spike on it on a swivel.
Yes.
And it had a rope that went up to the main mast. So they would get next to a ship, they would drop it, and the weight of the spike would go through the planks of the other ship and lock it in place. And then it would just charge across it and fight as if they were on land.
Which, by the way, that's like kind of an admission of a 1-for-1 on your Navy, right? Because your ship's kind of useless after that, too. Like, how do you unstick it?
Right.
Yeah.
It is, but that way, if they get a bunch of ships all locked up like that, they can just move from ship to ship, and fight on land. And that's kind of how the Vikings did it too, when they did sea battles, is they would try to just lock up and then just fight like they were on land.
Here comes the ramming.
This
is like the early, like one of the early stunts that just showed you that this is back in the day, and they put you in a spot and said you might get hurt because whatever they push through that wall, granted, it's not an actual wood wall. It's meant to break away, but there were dudes there that got smushed underneath that fake front of the ship.
We'll give you hazard pay.
Yeah.
They brought in convict labor that day.
Yeah. Rub some dirt in it.
So
yeah, he's basically the only one. And I kind of wonder if he was not chained. They don't really ever explain it, but I'm kind of wondering if he was intentionally not chained up so that if there was a problem, he could survive. I don't know if this I feel like the guy in charge was thinking that far ahead.
I think that's why he did it, just so that he was so impressed by him that if the ship went down, that he wouldn't drown. What's the other? There's no other logical reason for not chaining him up.
There's an illogical reason that fits with this movie, though.
Yeah,
God just didn't want it to happen.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
the will of God.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, because he likens it like later on to like, oh, there was this man one time that gave me water. I don't know why. So maybe this is kind of like something similar. So yeah.
There he goes in the water.
Hint, Ben-Hur, you're on to something there. You should go on to play Sherlock Holmes. Oh, wait, you did.
And kind of like you said earlier, T, that guy is regretting all that metal he's wearing.
Yeah.
He looked great for that Judas Priest concert of a fucking command performance in the brig of his ship, but now, yeah.
Panderjeet Singh says, watch this for the first time 2 weeks ago. Fantastic film. I agree. I watched it for the first time earlier today.
And
it's a great story.
Welcome to the
and what
show.
What you're missing here is that, like, in the background, that fake naval fire, like, now that we're focused in the front and those small ships are further off and back, the scaling of the water has, they spent a lot of time thinking about how can we sell enough of this so that the problems that we will have anyway won't bother people too much for too long.
Yeah.
And their solutions were an excellent adventure soundtrack right here for this part of the movie.
Yeah.
Excellent music, memorably excellent. And then a lot of stuff going on in the background where it was sort of out of focus, so that, like, the problems with the ships that they had to do and the smoke and stuff covered up for it. It was great. It was great.
The low light too was dark on the water, so you didn't see the water very much.
Think about how good you had to be to the deep conception of that shot. And here, I mean, thankfully it's not Kate Winston, so they had enough room on that piece of wood. Now he's going to keep that chain and put a blue gem on it to remember the captain by, because of course they're going to spoon later.
It's like,
I mean, yeah. So like,
he's
got him.
Serve the ship well.
He's got him chained because he's still like, I don't know if I can trust this guy, because even though I saved him. And they see the ship on the horizon, and they don't know who it is at first. And then that's when Judah says, like, "Oh, it's Roman." So now he's got the choice.
He's indifferent, by the way.
Yeah. So he's got the choice. Like, do I flag these guys down and maybe go back to slavery, or do I go ahead and do it anyway, because otherwise we're both dead out here in the water.
He could just show up with him dead and be like, yeah, it happened, or kick him overboard still. He had a lot of options still. So he clearly was being like he's shown throughout this whole movie, like he's not a bloodthirsty monster.
Right.
It's Masala who's the bloodthirsty monster. And you know what? A bit of a chicken, that Masala.
And it's weird because he's both not bloodthirsty, but he is, because he's only bloodthirsty for Masala.
Someone got it. You know what? You can only push someone and antagonize someone so much for so long before they come back and hell comes with them, right? And this movie's biblical in scale. Here again, we see another symbolic drink of water, drinking it like, the cup at Catholic Mass. Exactly like the cup at Catholic
He does
Mass.
it because he, like, the guy that's higher ranked, that he's the slave owner, he hands the water first to the slave, gives him a drink, and not only does he give him that water first, then he drinks out of the same cup. Like they share that cup, like you were saying. There's a lot of symbology there.
And he might have gone ahead and lied to everybody about this is just another guy from the ship. My slave drowned. This guy's his name's Character McPherson. He's Gaius Character McPherson. He's my pal.
We're going to get to the chariot race and the Star Wars connections there, but this is definitely the post Gungan War parade scene right here.
Boss Nass and everybody is going to come down here with the glowing ball of light.
Even some of the horns that they're playing, it looks almost exactly like they were played in Star Wars. And like I said, this is my first time watching this. I can't believe just how much George took from this movie for that episode 1.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, you're finally reading George Lucas's mind. I mean, this is where his mind dwells. This is what he ruminates on. Seriously. And then watching Star Trek. That was George Lucas.
Yeah.
I like this part. This dude, he's like, just holds it up and he's like, "Come on, man, you're gonna make me reach for it like a peon." I have to actually reach over a couple of inches. Oh, the agony.
Jay, I don't know if I can agree with you.
So it gives him this.
Yeah.
Well, we're sticking hard with the trope here of playing like what we've got one or two noble Romans, but the baseline Roman is a total jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so who's that person with you there? Oh, that guy. He tried to kill one of my governors. We'll talk later.
I mean, this would be a big deal to show up and like put your name on the line for somebody who had been sentenced to slavery, basically.
I think they blow it off.
Try to bring them into like an equal standing in the Roman society.
Do they get rid of the Judah Ben-Hur identity right at the excuse of the shipwreck? Doesn't he give him the water and do the other things to conceal his identity? Like, they're not calling him Judah Ben-Hur openly. I think that they're like, we can rehabilitate you, and the deal is you'll like race chariots or whatever it is for me.
I'm unclear
Right.
if it was
they mentioned him by name right there when they were talking about who is that guy with you. So
yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
I think it was,
All right. So he is going to bat for him because that guy wearing only one dude in Rome's allowed to wear purple, and we know who that is. So, ladies and gentlemen, Prince, he who's the little red Corvette. I believe he did 1999 in this movie.
yeah, because I think that it's not so much that they're concealing his identity as that they're giving him a quote unquote proper Roman identity and being adopted into the family of the man he saved.
And here we go.
And now we get some problematic imagery to these days. Yeah, it's kind of glossed over exactly through this, but I think from when he's sentenced to what we see in a little while is about, 3 years?
He was on the galleys for 3 years already when that guy
Okay.
first says, "Hey,
Right.
41, where have you served?" And he's like, "I've already been on the galleys 3 years." And he's like, "Well, you got the will." Because I think he had a sentence, right? It wasn't like life, I don't think. Maybe it was only so many years and he was supposed to get out of there or whatever.
I think they were just hoping that he would die there.
Right,
and not
yeah.
ever
That's
get out,
usually
yeah.
what happened. And he just wrote
Yeah,
you.
right.
But
That
he saved
place did
him, and
not
then-
look OSHA compliant at all to me. So.
Nah, of course it wasn't. But there's no sneeze guard on the salad bar.
No.
That's a fucking Star Trek joke. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you got that. Yeah.
I got it.
So
That's
he
appreciate it.
adopts him.
But he
He
adopts
adopts
him,
him
but
and
this doesn't say how many years have passed since he
takes his
saved
name.
him. So is this a year, 2 years? But here's the thing.
This is common in Rome, though.
Right, it is common in Rome. Also, when he gets sent to the galleys, it's the 26 years after the birth of Christ. So that's 26, 27, 28, 29.
Right. So JC's on tour now,
He's on,
He's
right.
on
he's
his-
rolling
he's
around
on tour.
doing stuff, and they
Yeah.
start mentioning him.
selling a lot of
Yeah.
T-shirts,
Yeah. So
and I think
I
Biden
mean,
is
it's
there
enough
as well.
to have a life in Rome. I mean, he's been here long enough to.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
because in a little bit when he mentions that he's going to go back, his adopted father basically says, like, I knew this day would always come. So you do get the feeling that he's been there for a while.
Right, and of course, Jesus, Biden, and
There's-
Jimmy Carter are spreading the gospel throughout the Bible land right now.
Yeah. Although
And
I guess it couldn't
there's
necessarily be
Pontius
that.
Pilate right there.
That's right. Yeah. It couldn't be that many years though, because he's back in time to do what he needs to do, race, and then still see the crucifixion. So it couldn't
Yeah,
have
we
been
play
too
around
many
a
years.
little. Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing: we got 6 years to play with from year 27, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
3 years of obscurity. Then the Gospels tell us that it was 3 years, but it's not like they lit some kind of fuse and it's like this is like the exact end of year 3. So maybe it was 3 years and maybe in 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So he could have been doing this for 2, and that would make sense. Like
Also,
he
the
saved him,
Mediterranean's
and
a quick trip.
right. But you know what I mean? Because he's risen
He's
from
like,
obscurity, like I'm number 41 on a boat, to now he's his adopted son.
I view this as being 24 months
Yeah,
from
that's about
shipwreck
right. Yeah,
to now.
Yep.
My gut feeling was 24 months. That's how it felt to me.
so he's like, he can tell that he doesn't want to be there. He wants to go back home.
Son, all you do is look at your
Like,
phone and keep texting that chick back in Jerusalem.
But yeah, I mean, like it's like I said, he knew it was going to happen eventually. He knew that this wasn't his home, but he still had taken him in as his son, like genuinely, not just as a symbol. So much so that he gives him the ring that would have been the inheritance of his own biological son.
Yeah.
And let's just remember, a true Roman here, what they would have done is had somebody go snuff Esther so that his son stuck around. That's the ancient world. That's the ancient world's move.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, so. And this is one of the wise men.
Yeah, that's a nice. Right? Yeah, Balthazar. That's a nice little touch. They don't, again, kind of like we were saying earlier, they don't draw a ton of attention to it. They just kind of like say, all right, so here's a little bit of story bits. Moving on. It kind of gives you a frame of reference.
That looks like a real beard, too.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Good beard.
So eventually that guy goes.
Crazy how. Sorry.
Is that what happens?
But yeah, I was gonna say, like, we got Baltar here, and like it's bizarre. I think we saw Michael and Sarah before. I'm not sure that was him, but I think we saw at least one guy who I recognize as a Klingon, and he's getting that water again. We like, symbolism is not lost, and we made it back to square one.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe he. How did he keep that ring? That's a good question. Do you remember?
Like I said,
scenes? Was he wearing it in the rowing scenes?
Because Roman wedding rings were made of steel.
He had a watch too, so
I would assume the slave rings were also steel. Yeah, he did have a watch and a cell phone, but what do you call it? Because most of their rings were made of steel, like wedding rings and probably the slave rings. It was probably like no one would steal it.
Right, maybe.
And he had a ring already, so they're like, yeah, leave that one on him. I mean,
I guess you wouldn't
make that make sense.
I guess you wouldn't use a precious metal to mark your slaves. You would use something basic that nobody would want to steal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he's already got a metal ring on him, so just okay.
Also,
if
you use iron or whatever, that they make shackles out of iron. Symbology.
It looks like the Rings of Power guy. Give me the beat and give it to me raw. Except his costume's better. It's filmed better.
So, I was gonna say something. So he's like he thinks he's some other guy that would be about your age right now, without saying who they're talking about.
Yeah,
which is Jesus.
Well, it's not like he. Well, I think he might have left already. Nazareth, and he's like already walking around doing stuff, but it wasn't like he was hiding.
No, but Jesus does emanate some sort of weird LSD vibe where everyone who's been around him is in like a fucked up trance. Like this guy, when he delivers his little description of Jesus, is like, and like there's like woo, like all ethereal music playing.
No,
you know what I mean? Like Jesus sort of puts you into a little bit of a trance in this movie.
No. Yeah,
I felt like that guy kind of was like he was on the Jesus vibe or something, like sort of affected for a little while after you're around him. He's like a 5G tower of like goodness.
Yeah, I like this guy, the Arab guy here.
Oh right, yeah, the owner of he's got all his horses and stuff.
Now this guy is that blackface?
Oh yeah, it's brown face because I looked at the actor and he is not that dark.
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Foam Admiral Teague. Welcome to our panel. This is pretty good though. This is good stuff. Like I don't know if we have people trained to do this in America anymore. We'd have to use Europeans.
Yeah, well,
you'd have to get
horsemanship and stuff.
I mean, they do have chariot races still, so you could get somebody that does that.
I mean, we have harness racing. We have harness racing, which is sort of related, but I mean, it's not like both guys have a Glock. It would be it would be awesome.
Yeah, right.
Are you talking about like the buggy races?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't trust that. Like, you put some kind of
wheeled cart. Yeah,
that seems pretty easy to fix to me. By the way,
I'm thinking of the ones where they use motorcycles instead of horses.
Yeah, they do that too.
Talking about multiple
here
motorcycles
we
to
go.
represent
Yes,
horses?
they
Uh-huh,
basically
yep.
take a chariot and tie
Just like
two
on,
motorcycles to the front, and they use reins to steer the
That's
handlebars.
some kind of like
Just like
Mad
on the
Max,
Furiosa
Smoke
movie.
Joe kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
it's crazy. But otherwise, it's basically the same thing. It's just chariot racing with motorcycles.
And of course, it's Baltar, and he's pissed off because he's Baltar.
It's like, oh, you run chariots in the great races in Rome.
It's like, do you know Lauren Green?
So he invites him to his tent for dinner.
Oh, and by the way, I did go back and look. Had to go to my phone for it. He was wearing his pinky ring when he was on the ship.
Oh, okay.
So yes, he did keep it, and they did make sure to include it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, this guy's got his style going on. He's got the rings and gold and everything. Living in a tent.
Yeah, he's a chic.
Yeah.
Yes, Jay, motorcycle chariot racing is exactly what you say after saying "hold my beer."
Yeah.
Great.
I just want to say really quickly, like, there's a really brief book by George Lucas about screenwriting, and what Beard just said about the ring, making that it was there. That's such a small detail that they could have left it out, and we wouldn't have known. He could have looked at it later, and that's the kind of mistake that happens now. And to quote George Lucas, if I was to cut from one angle to another and people were in the wrong place, or people's like clothing or look had subtly changed, you wouldn't maybe notice it, but your brain would, and disbelief would build up.
Okay.
So this movie is like, the one thing it doesn't trust you to do is abuse you with a lot of things that break your belief. Like, they know that they got a guy painted in freaking in shoe polish, so they're like, let's not mess up people's immersion. Let's have a good soundtrack. Yep, the art of continuity is a lost art in movies these days. Although on TV they seem to do better. I've noticed when I watch regular like broadcast TV, they're better at this than most stuff we see streaming.
This is funny. He was like, "You want to be my children?" And he's like, "Here are my horses."
Oh no.
In the way, not only here but also later on when Charlton Heston is acting with the same horses, because you can tell that like one of them is the troublemaker horse, and they just both this guy and Charlton Heston both roll with what's happening there and just make it part of the scene.
Yeah.
So I was able to see one of the signs as they came to the city. It's Tanis, and so the Well of Souls is here. So we'll be seeing this movie again in about 2,000 years. Yeah, Harrison Ford is on his way. No, I'm just messing around. I don't know where they are. They're in Bible land somewhere. But I'm sure it's not disputed in any way these days either.
We had already seen earlier that brief exchange with Masala when we gifted him a horse, another white horse. So we've already again, this is just the little things that happen and that pay off later on, is that we've already seen that Judah's good with horses, and so much so that I forget the sheik's name here, but he is surprised that his horse is like him.
Yeah, little pieces of gladiator carved out of that, right? Mm-hmm. With the picking up the earth and feeling out the ground, and then he notices that those traits about him too. With the parallel relationship between, what is his name? Was it Oliver? What the hell was his name? From Gladiator. That was the last movie we got him in. The guy from Three Musketeers. He was in the old Three Musketeers movies. It was his last movie. I forget his name. He was great.
So this is where he finds out Masala's in the chariot races. It's like, oh. And this guy's like, oh, so you hate him as much as I do, huh?
He's like, come on, you can race him and beat him. He's like, I don't want to beat him. I want to kill him. It's like, well, anything goes in their chariot races.
I think he's trying to size up his apparent midichlorian count to see if maybe he could pull off this chariot race.
Actually, at the risk of derailing things and bringing a Star Trek thing in here, There's a couple of facial expressions he was making that made me think of what's his face, Mud.
Yes, he is
What?
aping like mud. And I'm sure a couple of these older people are people that we see as like townsfolk on a couple of these planets where we have councils of elders in Star Trek. Like
Yeah.
Omega Glory comes to mind. I think this guy is honestly, I think this guy's in the episode Omega Glory, and I think he's also in the episode where they find the planet that's like Rome, where they have Colosseum as well. So this guy has been in a couple of Star Trek episodes, maybe even Mirror Darkly.
Yeah, so Balthazar's like, you want to go in there for revenge to kill him. It's not like that's not good. and
Yeah.
Everything.
He's like, yeah, but basically that's all I've got.
He
I like
leaves
it.
the
They,
room.
they
It's like,
don't. I like
You
that they don't
know,
lay that on
like
super
this.
heavy.
as soon as he leaves the room, this guy's like, there's no rules in the arena.
Yep. That's his and also not only the way they're dressed, but their hair color and everything. That's his angel and devil speaking to him. But yeah. Basically you could get away with killing him if it happens in the arena and nobody would ask a question. If you're still clicking forward, we're still looking at like a market scene.
And this looks very much like a set for the
Oh,
first
no.
time.
Raccoons.
Give him a second.
Oops.
He might.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah.
We saw was a set and a pretty good one, but for the first time we're seeing what looks like a set. They decided not to use some of the Roman ruins they had there. Or if they did, there's some extensive set dressing to it.
Yeah, I mean, even the interior sets that are pretty clearly an interior set are far above what
It
a lot of
feels
what you
very
would see
set.
these days.
It feels soundstage-ish sometimes, but it's big and it has a lot of depth. They're very deep, yes. They're big
Yeah.
sets.
Yes. Sorry about that.
That's all right. As you can tell, my Legionnaire personality was ready to go to war for you.
Yes, the shotgun. Yeah.
'Cause we
didn't know
took
they
the
had guns back
opportunity
then.
while you were gone to show Prawn and give medical advice and tell people how to invest their money. So
Yeah, we basically just tried to
nothing
hit.
to worry about. Broke as many rules as
Is that a
possible.
Benelli
We were about
shotgun?
to give medical advice when you came back.
Ah, okay.
Raccoons are at the gates. Oh, these bastards.
Okay,
Just
so
trash hyena.
if there is something in this movie that it stretches my suspension of disbelief, it's the fact that nobody would have taken over this property from the two people who are living here.
Oh yeah.
Or I guess three.
Look at the mezuzah,
Especially
though.
one-
Look at the
one of the
mezuzah.
Romans.
They didn't forget that. They have a
Yeah.
mezuzah.
I would have thought
Yeah.
that the Romans would have confiscated it.
Yeah.
And, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
that-
some Romans
that
would have
makes
been
sense.
living in it.
Because it's not like it's some random dude. Ben-Hur was actually pretty wealthy and well known.
Yeah.
So his
Someone did
property would have been
dishonor the
pretty.
mezuzah a little bit. It was at a kooky angle, so you might have something to it there. The Romans probably hung out there for a while before they burned it, or whatever.
Yeah,
they
they
did to trash this
probably
place.
put some troops up in there for a little while.
Hell, it was probably just a party that got out of hand. If we'd been there, we would have had a blast. And there's, of course, that's Jones.
Oh, yes. Surprise, I'm alive.
I'm alive.
Also, you're still hot.
I've got this ring, baby.
So yeah, so my internet went out earlier today, and I did not see this part of the movie, and I haven't seen the movie in like 15 years, so I don't remember this.
They're trying to figure out how the hell he ends up not being the owner of this no more.
Yeah.
Well, no, what I'm saying is what was she doing? Is that that's Esther, right?
Yes, that's
Well, they
Esther,
drift
and we're about to find out.
got-
They'll go. Because he asked her
Yeah.
basically why she didn't go get married, why she's still there, and we're about to find out that her after her father was imprisoned, she needed to look after it, and they have a.
Yeah, because
I'm going to go
they
ahead and jump
tortured
ahead
him
there to
and-
that point. Yeah,
This is why I have
because
to
he
travel.
basically can't walk anymore, but he met somebody else in prison who they cut his tongue out, and so the guy who they cut his tongue out carries him around, and he speaks for him. So she's basically there trying to help take care of him.
Oh, so he got like crippled in prison or something, right?
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
very
Right.
Clee Lars, isn't he, guys?
But yeah.
They're happy to see him. Yay.
Yeah, I forget the other guy's name, but basically he's got the muscle that carries him around, but he can't talk because he got his tongue cut out. He's like, he's my legs and I'm his
here.
tongue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, the dude does kind of look
The
like
origin-
Butterbean.
Master Blaster.
Yeah, Master Blaster. I was just
Jake.
reading. That's good.
But there's a great moment here after they have their little talk where the guy who carries him around steps forward, but Judah Ben-Hur says no, and he picks up the man who he basically owned as a slave and carries him up to bed.
Yeah.
It's a good thing Charlton Heston was in shape too, because even a
I think
lightweight
that was the actor who picked
person, I think so.
up.
If not, they made the face look real enough that like it's got the right sheen for skin. I mean, it's not easy, but it is easier to pick up a person who like has control over their musculature because they can keep from like being dead weight. It's the dead weight that is very, very difficult to actually like carry around.
I think that was all CGI.
That sounds about right. Dang Hollywood.
So
Yeah.
pretty much what
This is
goes
when-
on here is like, I want revenge, and she's like, you came back for revenge and all this, and yeah. So
And by the way, at this point, I'm like,
are
I'm feeling like it's relatable.
halfway
Like I'm
through.
feeling like he deserves to get some revenge on this guy.
Yeah.
it's like here's a present.
Oh, yeah.
from- I forget
This is nice
his
'cause-
adopted name.
Arius something or other.
Yes.
I forget
Young
the
Arius.
surname, but Arius. But yeah, he uses
They
his.
changed it just a little because it was a far more unpopular name that sounds just like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was in the
Okay.
research I did before. I made sure not to bring it up for that reason. It was one of the subtitles of the play, by the way.
But yeah, he uses
You're
his
alive.
Roman name so he can surprise
How?
him. This must be the Ben-Hur special edition where Greedo shoots at Ben-Hur first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's confident enough to walk in there and confront him because as far as legally with Rome, his sentence has been dismissed. He's not only just a Roman citizen again, but a high-ranking Roman citizen because
Right.
he used this as the signet that he got from his adopted father to prove his
Yeah,
status. So now
And he's hung out with Caesar.
Yeah, and now Masada he can't just like kill him right then and there because then
Yeah.
he's going to have a heck of a lot of explaining to do.
And Masala
You can't kill
upset
another Roman.
because he got to meet. He's upset because he got to meet Caesar first.
Yeah.
That's true, but here's the thing: he's Romanified now. You can't crucify him; that's off the table. And also, you can't just kill him. You have to be able to like have some kind of cause and shit like that. I mean, two Romans can go at it, but I think it's like sort of like if I was to like challenge one of you, it'd be like, meet me at the gym of your choosing. Like there was something to it. Like I don't think you could just go after people.
And he's like,
I mean,
you find
it
my
inevitably
mother and
happened.
sister. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I like that. That George Lucas kind of worked that into Attack of the Clones too, right? This whole thing
Yeah.
is sort of Anakin returning to Tatooine.
Yeah, kind of.
The part where Charlton Heston says he hates sand.
So where's the
It's everywhere.
guy in Carbonite? Where are they keeping him?
Oh, he's down here somewhere.
And behind one of these doors?
Yeah.
Thankfully, Rey's not in.
So
the movie.
they're in the lower dungeon, like the place we never go, except to give them food. Don't even open the door. They only know that there's people alive in there because the food disappears. Like this guy goes in there and is immediately freaked out. It's like, oh no.
When Rome sends us the jail guards, they're not sending us their best anymore.
No.
Epstein was also in prison there.
So they release them and tell them to get out of there. Don't infect anybody. And they meet Esther.
I mean, unless they were in there with other people that had leprosy, I'm not sure how you catch it.
Well,
contact.
I did some leprosy research earlier. It's not nearly as contagious as it was historically thought it was, and you could
No.
actually be exposed to it and not show symptoms for sometimes 10 to 20 years. So
Yeah.
they may
Well,
have been
close.
exposed to it much earlier in their life, but it didn't show up until they were in prison.
It takes
Right.
prolonged personal contact.
Yes.
Like, you have to live with the person. Someone has to have it, and then you live with them, and you'll most likely get it because you'll be exposed a little bit every
Well,
day, and sooner or later.
Even then, at least with in modern health situations, because our immune systems have less to fight with every single day, unlike back in the day when these folks would have lived. A lot of people's immune systems just naturally are strong enough to fight it off, so it's not nearly as big of a problem as it would have been back in the day. But again, like I said, they could have been exposed to
may
this
also have
long
died off.
before. Yeah.
I don't know if it exists in the wild anywhere in the world anymore.
So
Very rare.
They tell Ben-Hur that they're dead, so he doesn't come
Because
looking
they
for 'em.
don't want to be remembered as and the movie is very generous here as far as the potential disfigurements that they could have undergone, but they don't want to be remembered as these diseased,
fingers.
disfigured people.
This is a
Right.
family movie too.
Yeah. I mean, later on, you see like their faces in like open light before the very end of the movie, and it's like, oh, you're still beautiful, ladies. They just put a little schmutz on your face.
So she tells him that they were dead. They've been dead a long time.
Yeah,
Like
she
when
basically
he's
fesses up. She says, "I saw them, like in prison, dead. Whenever I went to go get my father," which means that he's mad at her now because he thinks that she's been lying to him this entire time.
Yeah. So the sheik comes here. It's like, let's do some gambling, people. Brings this big chest.
I'll just
coins.
point out that, look at his dagger. Worthless. $10 from a vendor in the street. But if we were to take it out, bury it in the sand, and leave it
So-
there until 1933, Men would kill for it. Men like Belloc and Jones.
So
Sorry.
yes. So
Yeah.
this guy shows up to make a wager on the upcoming race, and this is basically the Qui-Gon moment making a wager with Watto. Yeah, he like
100%. Come on.
he's like
yeah.
he's like, okay, let's sit down and make a wager, and like people start throwing around little bitty numbers. It's like, never mind, I thought you were serious. And so he starts to
Not a
walk away. He's like,
chance
no,
to
no, no,
keep it
no,
right
come
here.
back, come back, come back. Let's actually do this. And so like, because they initially like offered like 2-1. He's like, no, 3-1, no, 4-1, okay.
And
And
look at the composition of the shot and the rock behind him that matches the stadium in Tatooine. I mean,
Yes.
that Tatooine
Well-
already had a color scheme, but wow.
and he kind of goads Masala here into making a wager, because he's that confident not only in Judah Ben-Hur but also his horses that he's been raising.
Yeah.
And then he bets, I think it was 1,000 talents.
Yeah.
And I did a couple. You can't just plug in 1,000 talents from Roman era into an inflation calculator, but I did a little bit of looking. And 1,000 talents at the time could buy around 5,000. Could buy 5,000 or more hectares of farmable land, and 5,000
Wow.
hectares of farmable land is the equivalent of almost 20 square miles. So that is a massive amount of money at the time.
Oh yeah.
That's messed up. I have one. Like, I bought it off eBay. I bought like an ancient Roman coin. Like, I think I have one.
A
Really?
talent?
So I'm going to start evicting people. That's my
yeah,
landlord.
so-
I should be good for the rest of my time here.
Yeah. That's an amount that doesn't translate. Now, if you're a regular church goer and you're reading the Bible and you have to deal with denarii and talents and things like that, there's you have a little bit of a frame of reference, but there's still not much for modern day stuff. That's why I wanted to look that up. Because
I
that
got
is
paid in
that's a
back
lot
tires
of
for
money.
my first job. Yeah, they don't have Republic
his
credits.
horsing.
It's something
The
more
horsing.
substantial, right?
Right.
Still kind of a little LOL. This Sala here is all painted up.
Yeah, there are some scenes where it works better, and this is not one of them.
It's not spray tanned. It's like daubed on with like a brush.
Yeah, it's just like straight up shoe polish. That was rough. But yes, we're getting into the chariot race here, getting all queued up, and even some of the scenes of him inside getting ready looks a lot like the interior scenes before. I'm going to try to keep my Star Wars references to a minimum, but still.
That looks like a German helmet painted gold with loopy things on it.
Well, let's not. No, they did like the hand symbol.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Roman,
Hey,
Hello.
Roman. You should know about this kind of thing, chariot racing.
He was actually in chariot number 3.
He was there. He was there.
but yeah, I'll spit it out right now because as we're going for okay, this is nice. He covers his head as would have been proper when he prayed at the time, and he's like says his little prayer. He's like, forgive me, but this is like, this is what I got to do. Like, he knows he's doing the wrong thing, but he's gonna do it anyway. But yes, I'll just get the Star Wars stuff out of the way. I had not seen this movie until earlier today, but there's so much here. The way they lead them out with the flags, even the soundtrack with the horns is very reminiscent. When the governor comes out, or Caesar, whoever it is, it's not Caesar, the governor, I guess, comes out, and it's just like Jabba, or the emperor. Yeah, it's just like Jabba coming out there. And this is so much like this. I can't believe I didn't know that before.
Isn't it excellent to go and see these things, though? And like, you know what, George Lucas, okay, I thought you conceived of it, but at the same time, this is amazing. And also a little bit of the Into the Arena in Attack of the Clones. I can almost hear the music, It's like when they make when Anakin and Padme make the Lover's Pledge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't
saw
have a
what was
giant spider leopard jump out on them here. That would have made this movie
Yeah,
better.
that would have been crazy. Had them chase him down as they're racing. Yeah,
Work that into Jesus's life.
have some Arab like alien shoot at them. And Masala's got
Oh,
some
yeah.
spikies.
Yeah, I think the sheet comes over and says he's got a Greek chariot.
Their helmets are a little funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. And they had helmets in the chariot, the pod racing too.
Yeah.
And they're off.
Well,
I
they do the
love
whole
the whole-
parade around first. Yeah.
Yeah, this was so cool.
Yeah. The
Yeah, this
pod
was
racing
all
track is amazing.
a set.
I'm sorry, the
This was near.
Chariot
This set
race
was built
track.
near Rome,
if you want to.
and they had like 15,000 extras in the background to fill the seats. These are actual people, not Q-tips.
Yeah.
Hello, Red Glitch and Parker 117 and Hi Roman and Hey Snorty.
There.
This is kind of looks a little bit like one of Mustache Man's ceremonies, and there's like a real reason. Like this was what he was looking at when he designed his stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice little parade around everything. And I like the fact that they took the time to smooth the dirt out so that, even if this was like take 5, 6, or 7, you didn't have all the hoof prints already there.
They probably had the same thing they had in a traditional this is. I wonder if it's like a dressed up. If they built a set and they just brought in the equipment from like a real horse racing track or used it because horse racing tracks, I don't know about in California, have a season, or I'm sorry, in Spain have a season, but it's an incredible freaking set. And yeah, like you said, like they combed the sand.
Yeah.
What we can't see is off to the side, the Philly Fanatic and Mr. Med are dancing, and as well as the hot dog, popcorn, and the beer.
It's not popping up in StreamYards right for some reason, so I can't highlight it here. But Panderjeet says, I'm kind of glad they can't make horse scenes like this anymore. Yeah, it was. It's not exactly great for the animals in some of these collisions.
Yeah,
it's very
this whole
believable
thing
because
is
it basically
ill-considered.
happened on set. But yeah,
I love that. I love that beautiful shot, though. Look how gorgeous! It's just amazing, and the entire arena is just incredible.
Yeah, this looks amazing. It does.
George Lucas was overwhelmed when he saw this as a kid. I think in his love for it, he may have gone a bit too far in a few places, but stylistically, he designed it to be this way.
Roman. I mean, technically yes at the time, and technically yes today, I suppose. But I mean, and it's also not subtle here. The fact that most of the horses are kind of a medium shade, and then between our two main characters here is the pure white horses and the pure dark horses with the red accents.
By the way, this debuted in a gorgeous movie palace in New York City on Broadway in Times Square.
Really?
I'm looking at it where it premiered now. It's absolutely breathtaking. Yeah, beautiful theater. Lowe's State Theater. At that point, movie distributors and movie chains had their own. There were a chain of Paramount theaters up until the 70s.
Yeah, all the drivers get introduced based on their regions that they hail from.
Right, their droids walk in front of them holding a flag. Oh wait, wrong movie. Sorry, guys.
It's so hard not to think about that. I can't believe I never really made the connection, even if I hadn't seen this.
By the way, isn't it amazing how they seem to have like an a-hole filter on the camera for masala? Whenever we show chicken masala, like the angle is like been well chosen, super unflattering, the shadows. At this point now, like the movie's given up on the redemption. It's like, we've been setting up this fight. You're going to get your fight. It's going to be epic. It's going to go 20 minutes. Like, this is going to be a whole big chunk of this freaking movie. Go pee now. This is probably right after the intermission, to be honest with you, because we're right at the middle of the movie.
It really is, because actually the
It
intermission
probably
came a
started
little
the
bit.
second half of the movie.
Yeah, the
Oh, I'm
intermission
sorry.
came a little bit after the half. It came later than I thought
okay.
would have.
So we're
we've already
just
skipped.
after,
We've already
we're
skipped
about
past it.
15, maybe 15 minutes of real life past the intermission. This is kicking the second half of our football game into, like, this is now like our first possession of the second half, so to speak, of the story. We spent a little time with some pageantry, which people love, and it's nice and air conditioned in that
Well,
movie theater when no one else has it.
And
Am I
You-
seeing
you
that
ha-
right? Is there an hour left on this movie?
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Good news,
I mean,
it does have a 15-minute credit sequence.
this race scene, they play it out. They don't cut it short.
Yeah,
So
they
I
stole
mean,
this from
there's
Greece.
actually not a ton that happens here, because it's just the race somebody wrecks, and then you race a little bit more and somebody else wrecks. So, but it's still really engrossing. I didn't find myself wanting to skip it.
It's
Yeah,
not-
Roman of the Empire has got it. This movie review is 17 hours long. This movie is 17 hours long.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see, of course, so many different influences in modern cinema, like something closer. Like, I mean, I don't want to say modern because now we make garbage. In vintage cinema, like for instance, we see this replicated in Greece with the chariot wheel, like chewing up the other chariot wheel. They do the same move in Greece.
I never seen Grease.
In Greece, Craterface has a car that has like Destructo rims like this, and he
Oh.
messes up Greased Lightning with it. You've never seen Grease? Guys, next week's movie, come back for Grease.
Look,
And
until
then we'll be
today,
watching Grease 2 with Michelle Pfeiffer.
until today, I'd never seen Ben-Hur. I'm famous as the guy who's just never seen movies. It's fine.
By the way, this is a
He's got
great
that metal
contrast here
thing
with
on
the
his-
all white horses and the all black horses.
Yeah.
And also, Judah Ben-Hur is the only rider or driver, I guess would be the term here, that is not using a whip. He's got his
Yeah, it's
reins,
too
but
nice.
everybody
Wow.
else is whipping their horses, and he's not.
He's using the force.
Yeah, some of the I've
Yes.
seen a couple of special effects breakdowns of this race, and it's not special effects like you would think these days. Some of the shots are, rear projection when you got your principal actors in the front and you can't really be filming over the heads of horses as they're running full speed. But for the most part, what you see happen in this sequence happens. People
Yeah.
put their life on the line to do these stunts.
I think a couple of people ended up in the hospital. It's not impossible someone died. And let's face it, it's fascist Spain. If one of these chariots flipped into the crowd and killed like 65 people that were subjects of Franco, he would have been like, give me a little more money and it's no big deal and we'll never talk about these people again. No one will miss him. Trust me.
Yeah.
This
I mean,
would
there's
never
a-
be allowed to happen today. Unfortunately, this would be a CGI mess and the race would be at night, wouldn't it? It would be a torchlight race, murky as
Yeah.
hell.
I mean, if these days, if they put the money into it and they're willing to give the artist the time necessary, they can make it look just like this.
the way,
Unfortunately, they
there's
don't
Roman.
normally give them the time.
There's Roman in back early in his career.
Yeah, babyface Roman.
He's got money on this race. He knows it's fixed. He's got his money on Judah Ben-Hur.
So yeah,
Secretly
he saw
praying
that.
to the Hebrew God, have we, Roman?
He got trampled pretty good here. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know how they pulled off this stunt. I think what it was this guy was sentenced to 25 to life, and they're like, or you could go underneath some horses for a movie. And he's like, I'll take the horses. Like, okay. It's like, can I have some opium first? Like, nope, you did what you did.
There are some stunts during this race where it is clear that it's an actual person that gets dumped out of the chariot, and then like another chariot runs them over. Some of them, it's very clear an actual person. That involving horse like galloping over them, I think there's only like that in one other shot that has to be a dummy, because there's no way that they would put somebody there.
Well, the fantastic news, if it's not the horses, is that we can make a 4-pound chariot that looks convincing.
Yeah. But he's a little beat up.
And where's, I mean, just people say Travis Kelce's some kind of great athlete. Where's Taylor Swift now, huh? Where are your Swifties here? Matt G, where are you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that we kind of just had to skip over because this, like I said, the sequence goes on for so long, but there's not a ton of stuff going on here. Is
now if you
like whenever like somebody falls out of the chariot and like the wheel gets damaged or whatever, you get these guys that have to come run out the side, kind of like a tennis court Broadway, but they're like with a stretcher and a horse trying to get everything off the track. It's basically like if like a NASCAR car hit the wall and you had to go out there and pull it aside by your bare hands before the cars showed up and ran you over.
Like you're basically rodeo clown / pit crew.
Yes.
They have intersecting job descriptions. And I just want to say, right here, this is a great freaking shot. It really is. I mean, look at the chaos and pandemonium. And this was entertainment. I mean, athletes today, they complain and want, oh, I got hit by an inside pitch, or oh, I have to play 17 regular season football games and I broke my ACL because I'm Karen Rodgers. I mean, these are men. I mean, bring this back and I would have season tickets tomorrow. Name the team, whatever you want.
It is great though when Ben-Hur does his little victory lap around the broken form of his former friend that is, at least as far as he knows right now, is responsible for the deaths of his mother and his sister. But
Marcelo doesn't get a lot of credit for all the good he did.
Yeah,
he cleaned up the roads in Jerusalem.
Okay. This entire chariot sequence is worth all of the. I don't want to make. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not like everything that came up before this wasn't worth the watch. This movie absolutely is worth the watch. And I'm not somebody who likes really long movies, but even if you do break it up into a couple of bite-sized pieces, like I think most people probably would if they have never seen this before, definitely once you get to this point, once you've built up everything that Judah is fighting for, everything that he's going to his revenge plot and everything, and just this entire race played out. You see all 12 laps. Like he tells the horses at one point, he says, remember, you don't win on the first lap. You have to win on the last lap. Which is, I guess, potentially also
as he goes around, which is really cool.
And is also kind of a potential nod. Folks. It's a potential nod to, again, more biblical stuff where the last is first. So he doesn't mind if he's last for 11 laps. He just has to be first in the last one.
That's like saying you only have to win the 9th inning.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it might be a struggle to get up there, at the very end, but
you know what? I loved this part of the movie, and I loved seeing Marcella get his, didn't you? I mean, who didn't feel good when Marcella got trampled by the horses? You're like, yeah, you dick.
Oh yeah, he absolutely deserved it. Well, I mean, this is another nod towards Judah's just good nature, is he's acknowledging the horses that basically did all the work for him.
think he's kind of connected to them.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a Forcey element to some of his personality.
Mm-hmm.
And that other guy was kind of his Obi-Wan.
Everybody's got to rush the field once the game's over, of course. And this is an interesting kind of declaration that's made here, is that as the winner, he's the people's one true God. And it is kind of interesting that even given his upbringing religiously, that he doesn't seem to balk at that title. Like
Hey,
in the
when
moment,
in Rome.
well, yeah, but in the moment, he's fully accepting of that. Like he's like, hell yeah, I am. I did what I came here to do. But
In
he,
context, he did a very Roman thing in a very Roman way. Every single Roman would find this to be a highly honorable and deeply respectable way to take revenge. Like Marsala's mother, if she was there, would be like, I don't like that you killed my boy, but that was a right proper Roman rivalry you two bastards had.
yeah,
People used to be violent, folks. It's just the truth. What, he was a citizen, yes. He had
well,
earned
and
citizenship, and he knew how to parlay with the Romans. He was just talking the way they talk. He didn't. I don't think there's a blasphemy law yet. Like
well, and at the
as in the
beginning,
Ten Commandments, yeah.
that we kind of missed because we're trying to get through this last little bit, so we're not spending like another 2.5 hours
Yeah,
going
right.
over this movie. But when everybody's introduced, the crowd kind of cheers for everybody. But when he says, from Judea, the crowd goes nuts. And then whenever he, says like "Hail Caesar," whatever, almost nobody repeats after him, and he gets that look around. It's like, so like, this is the man of the people who's won.
My
But then we
feeling
come
was
back
that,
to
like,
Masala here.
Masa-
He's basically they're telling him, we have to like take your legs off or you're gonna die. And he's like, no, he's gonna show up, and I won't be half a man when he does. It's like, okay, I understand. Okay, a little bit of respect
which
there.
is very Roman too.
Yeah.
Hey, Snorty says Frank Thring makes a wonderful pilot.
Yeah.
Yes, he invented the Pilate, Pontius Pilate. He was a Roman dude, and he judged Jesus. But you know what?
Welcome,
This guy was a
Coco.
great freaking heel in this movie. He did a great job. This guy was an awesome freaking heel.
He was, yeah. I mean, as the actor, he definitely did his job to make you dislike him.
Memorable. Oh God, did he ever? Oh, he was just a memorable heel. The fact where he could have like said there's an extenuating circumstance, but just went with it with the roof tiles. By the way, we couldn't make this movie today because he would have been like, "Yes, make me an amputee. I'll be just as good as everyone else."
Yeah. But this is where Judah gets the information that his mother and sister are not dead.
Which is the only reason the movie's not over here, because she's starting to wonder, okay, like, why are they having this confrontation?
I mean, this is an interesting choice as far as the creation of this, or the like production of this movie. This is the climax of the film. This is like where everything else would stop, and you have maybe 15 minutes of wrap up. But this goes even
Yeah.
further than like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and they
Yeah,
just
there's
keep
another
they just
story
keep
that
going.
starts now. By the
Yeah.
way, did anyone else think this when they saw how Masala's wounds and how he looks and the blood, especially before they cleaned him up a little bit here? Did it remind anyone of Khan in Star Trek 2, where he's got kind of all that like mess of blood and garbage all over his face, and he's absolutely just covered with like bloody mucus? because that's kind of the vibe
Yeah.
I got off of that. I thought that maybe the Star Trek people were like, we want it like Ben-Hur.
He tells them that they're lepers.
Mhm.
That's pretty cold-blooded to the last.
Well, and
And
they
then
were
he blows
basically kicked
himself
out
up.
of the city to go to the leper colony, which leper colonies were not uncommon for far into more modern history than people probably realize.
And there, of course, is the hard of hearing Def Leppard. He's going to miss his Overton window of success. Just 2,000 years into the future, that would become a thing.
Yeah, he's not worried. He wants to get down there, and everybody's like, "You're crazy." They just lower food down there, basically, just like y'all live in a hole in the wall. It's fine. Just stay out of the city.
They went to San Francisco and filmed this in real parts of the city.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he asked for him by name, and he's told we don't have names here. It's basically like everybody has adopted the identity that they don't exist in society anymore. So why have a name?
Yeah, George R.R. Martin was paying attention to that part of the movie, hasn't he? Wasn't he? With that like whole sand and snow thing.
Yeah, this is when he finds like, oh, pretty lady's been lying to me.
You look all right for a woman whose arm is about to fall off. And guys, would it be fair to say here he's got like a Shatnerian type delivery, right? I mean, for anyone who's watched Futurama, basically Calculon is William Shatner and Charlton Heston rolled into one. And that's kind of how Charlton Heston talks. He talks like Calculon.
Well, I mean, kind of like I think it was you that said early, but it seems like so long ago when we started this, that this was kind of like that transitional period where we were still seeing a little bit of like the stage overacting still kind of crossing into film.
I think they wanted it because this format was only be able to be shown in certain movie theaters. I had to have a smaller cut for others. This is probably 120 millimeter in its breast form, like, the IMAX of its day.
Okay. Yeah, Esther basically convinces him to hide because out of respect for them, because they don't want to be remembered as they are now. They want him, right. They would rather be remembered as dead as they were the last time that he saw them.
They identify as dead.
Basically, I mean, you make a joke, but pretty much, yes. That was kind of the thing back then.
That's a bummer, Snorty. I did not know that. Was there a cure, or did the disease die out?
There is a cure. It takes, like I said, my research earlier, most people, it'll take like a year or two of constant treatment to actually cure them of it if they actually get to the point where it's a noticeable like outbreak. But there is a cure, and it's not very common. There's only like a couple 100,000 people across the world that are diagnosed with it. And there's apparently a Central Florida area that's the greatest concentration in the U.S. these days. But that might be because they eat armadillo potentially, which I think it was Jay earlier that said that armadillo is a modern day source of leprosy.
I just had an armadillo in the yard earlier.
Yeah. Wow. If you ever see one run over on the side of the road,
all the armadillos.
Yeah, you don't want to be picking those up and snuggling them. No.
I have a personal agenda that by the end of my life, all sharks and armadillos are dead.
You know what? Go for it. This is another nod that is subtle. Okay, it's not subtle.
Actually,
it's one of those
Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, it's one of those if you know, you know, but it's not actually a central point of the story because we're still following Judah Ben-Hur, and he doesn't care about this at this point. He's still kind of like in his own little world that he's missing all of this other stuff that's happening around him.
Like the fact that everyone here is getting a free filet of fish sandwich.
Exactly. If he had just stuck
Right?
around.
We remember that happens today too. There's a lot going on. I was there that day. It was a good sandwich. I enjoyed it. JC was very generous.
But I just like the fact that they set up the scenery so that, again, this is probably because I was brought up in church, but I see that hill and I immediately know what it is. It doesn't need over explanation.
Right.
They don't need to be super preachy about it, for lack of a better term.
It's Calgary. But how come they don't know where it is now?
Well,
Its location has been lost to history. Now, I'm
this is
sure
the
if I
point-
went back there, I could find it again. But still, I mean, it's been about a couple thousand years.
it's a lot of steps to retrace. But this is the point where he basically renounces his Roman citizenship.
Right.
This, by the way, never do this. Yeah, he's basically throwing his passport over the wall here. And punches Pilate. He's like, if you just work out a little more, we got a yoga session later this afternoon. Calm down. These lepers ain't worth getting in trouble for.
As much as he is, rejecting his Roman citizenship and taking a stand that he's being told is risky and that nobody in Rome is going to protect him if something happens, he still has enough respect for the man who took him into his family to give back the ring.
Not to do it with his mark.
Yeah. He's like,
He
make
may
sure
be wearing
he
an
gets
impossible
this.
robe. I don't know if that outfit was possible for that time. I mean, maybe the American Indians did have stuff like that. I just don't know. Not the way it appears. But I love the Roman guy's outfit, and they keep with the whole thing where, the baseline for a Roman is you're kind of a Richard.
Okay.
You're a male rooster.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm doing my best here, guys. I'm from New York.
The ring, that was a bold move. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave it to this little dwarf with hairy feet. He took it to a volcano. He was off to Pompeii with it.
But yeah, that was like the move
Snorty,
where
he was a mighty Roman. I know his wife, Incontinentia. Snorty is quoting from History of the World.
Yes.
It's a fake name, sir, like Biggest Dickus. Biggest Dickus? You know him? He's a friend of mine. He's a mighty Roman. All right, so anyway,
Like,
we got the leprosy thing going on.
He still wants revenge even after Salah's dead. He still wants.
We missed the scene here, guys, where he had painted Dick on Masala's grave with an arrow pointing down and defaced it. He's really been petty about the whole thing.
Well, he still hasn't he hasn't found the resolution or the peace that he's looking for, because once he got what he thought he wanted is when he realized that his family was still alive and that the person that he thought he loved was lying to him. So he's still just, everything about what's going on is just, he can't have that peace. He's still driven to find some sort of resolution.
Which at this point I'm thinking, there's plenty of the fish in the sea, Chuck. You're a handsome guy. You got your freedom. You can just go talk it out with the Romans. Why? Why?
Well, it's not even necessarily about her anymore. He's still worried about his mom and his sister. But he starts to believe just enough to try to bring them out of that leper colony to try to get healed by this
He's
wandering
heard about
rabbi.
this Jesus guy. Yeah.
I mean,
this guy, Jesus.
Yeah, at this point, it's very clear that he doesn't really necessarily believe, but he's willing to take whatever chances he needs to in order to try to help them out.
Yeah, he doesn't super dig Jesus yet. He has no reason to believe it. When he sees it's the man who gave him water, though, it's gonna frick him out, people.
Yep. And this is, and his mom doesn't want him close because she doesn't. Being a mom, I don't care how old you get, your mom, if she's a good mom, will always just be worried about trying to protect you, even like from sickness, even if it's a sickness she has. So this is a very believable reaction. It's not even necessarily anymore that she doesn't want him to see her. is she doesn't want him to get sick as well, which is why she's telling him, don't go find your sister. She's very ill. She's about to die. And he's just like, nope, I'm here for my family.
I mean, now that the house is burned down and there's nothing to inherit, who well, you might as well just let it. But bygones be bygones, and yeah.
Oh, I don't know
Mom,
what
did you
mine
see
they
what you did, though?
filmed that in, but that my claustrophobia kicked in whenever I was watching that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
but
might be some actual Roman stuff here.
Basically, they
Nah,
just
it's another
say,
set.
screw you to, rules about the city and bring lepers into the city. And this is great
Yeah.
because you got the blind
This
guy
blind
here.
guy, he's like-
They finally give him a coin, and then you hear, oh my God, lepers. And he dumps the coin out. He's like, nope, not worth it.
it's like,
And he can
I
say,
don't want that coin.
Yeah, but they're looking for Jesus, and they arrive just a little too late.
yeah, now this is where we overlap with the Mel Gibson movie.
See, that's the only shot right there. That is like one of the few shots in this entire film. I'm like, ooh, that takes me out of it. And I understand why they did it. Why they did it.
Yeah.
Why they did it is they're still trying to conceal the face. Because they don't. I don't know if it's because they don't want to necessarily be about the actor that's in the role, or to really make it super obvious, even though it's pretty dang obvious. But that is a weird choice to do that shadow there.
Well,
If you don't show Jesus, you don't run the risk of it becoming a Jesus movie.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's Judaism, though. Christianity, all forms of Christianity have some form of it. I would have to say, I think if you show Jesus's face, just from the point of view of like maybe being a director, like putting on my imaginary director hat here, like a George Lucas, like maybe you go a bit too far in a few places if you show the face of Jesus, because like he's kind of going to become the most important guy there every time. No one's going to. Yeah, if once you're not going to see him, it's like you can concentrate on the pageantry. I mean, look at all these extras. Do you want people looking at JC? He's just a stuntman. I mean, not in real life, he's Jesus, but I mean, in this movie, he's just a stuntman, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get close, which, parallels a lot with the some of the stories in the Bible about people who get close, and like the woman who like touched the edge of his garment to get healed. So I thought they might have been going for that. I thought maybe he would be the guy.
Face and puts and his impression is left behind. Veronica's veil, the 13th station. The 8th station of the cross. Are there 12? I'm a terrible Catholic.
I thought that maybe Judah Ben-Hur would be the one that was pulled out of the crowd to carry the cross. Again, like I said, this is like my first time through this, so I'm trying. Like my upbringing and things like that. I've got those little neurons firing off. I'm trying to figure out how this is going to play out, and I'm glad that I was wrong on all accounts, because I think the way they did it is perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I mean, I think he says like, I recognize that man. Like that's when he first realizes that this is the guy that gave him water. So he's almost abandoned his family. Like, okay, again, going back to the biblical teachings, he's abandoned everything he's literally following Christ through the streets. He doesn't really know exactly why yet, but
there's something about this JC guy.
But yeah, when he stumbles, he's like, oh, I can finally pay him back. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a powerful moment in the movie. And I guess, really, honestly, all the more powerful because we don't see his face. Mm-hmm. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. Like I said, look at everything going on here. We have one part played by one stuntman. All these other gorgeous costumes, all this other great pageantry, wherever they went to on location or the soundstage they might have built, whatever it was, They know the perfect weather they seem to be having, or if it's not a
And
soundstage.
this,
The least expensive thing here is the one stunt man carrying one piece of wood. They want you to look at
Yeah.
everything else too.
yeah, and this mirrors
Well,
It's a
the
movie
scene
with Jesus.
from earlier too.
Yes.
It's a movie with Jesus, not a movie about Jesus. Sort of like Terminator 2, a movie with time travel, but not about time travel.
Yeah. Well, and by keeping the camera on Judah's face, it's all about the effect of Jesus in this story.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. When he looks into the eyes of God himself,
And
something changes.
we've got all the stuff here again. Okay, Jacob, I don't know if you had intended. I mean, granted, this is a key part of this movie, how religious the conversation would go. But there's little things like you see, like the guys in the crowd that have the fancier clothes. They're the Pharisees watching Jesus get strung up on the cross and everything like that. And it's little things like that where if you have that kind of upbringing, it builds out the story a little bit more, even if that's not necessarily a faith that you follow anymore. It makes this movie better.
Now, I thought like one of the things that was unrealistic was the Romans would have been taking some selfies. They're Romans, come on.
They did the next best thing for the time period. They
made an oil painting.
They gambled to take his belongings.
Right, and there's a whole movie for that one with Richard Burton called The Robe.
Yeah.
I don't know how far we are into the swing of things as far as this trend goes, but these very, very big, very, very huge filmed, very, very big budget epic movies that could break studios about Bible or Bible adjacent themes, they are freaking huge for a while. This guy in front of us is in two of them.
Yeah. I like the fact that they brought Balthasar back in here as somebody who was there from the beginning to the end. And that like he recognizes him being there. And then we see the thieves brought up as well.
It would have been a nice touch if one of the thieves had been like, say, one of those troublemakers who didn't like the Romans earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Sonora Poopas is right. And there's a story about how, like, when they made Richard Burton watch the dailies of the movie, they're like, in this form of a movie, your hand is 70 feet long. You can't just roll your eyes and sweep your hand like that. It's too grandiose. And he had to relearn how to act. In that, I think that's the movie that breaks him, where the people are like, you suck at movie acting. You're a stage actor.
And again, going back to the focus not being on Jesus as the character in this movie, is we're seeing the lightning and hearing the thunder from a different perspective. And in a moment, I don't know, hopefully it's coming up. I don't know exactly when it is, but when they,
well, it starts.
We hear,
starts raining.
Yeah.
First.
And at one point,
and I would just point out, why do all of us Roman citizens pay for Augustus care if these people are just going to allow themselves to get leprosy? A simple preventative checkup could have done this. And look at just to break it. These are the reasons why we can't have socialized healthcare and good things. They said you can keep your doctor. Okay.
All they have to do is believe.
Yeah.
Now that's biblically,
like they're
biblically
miraculously
accurate,
healed right here.
It did start raining.
Yeah, that's in the Bible, right? Yeah. At least one of the Gospels, one of them.
I can't remember if rain specifically, but definitely like thunder.
It's in the Book of El Roker.
It does get dark.
Yeah, the sky went dark, and there was the sound of thunder, and like the veil and
temple shroud was torn. Yep. Yeah, I was there too. Yeah. I deleted some of the selfies of me in front of this because it was a little disrespectful, but I didn't know who he was yet.
But this also fits because a lot of people at the time, you read the stories in there about people thought that they had to, like the woman who touched the edge of Jesus's cloak to be healed. Like people thought they had to go through these rituals for it, and that was the teaching that he always had. It's like, no, you don't have to do ritual anymore. And so that we see that with these two here with their leprosy.
Although Jesus is a 5G tower of healing, just because he has died, this rainstorm is now a rainstorm of very healing holy water, and everybody's going to be okay. And do we see some of his blood flowing in the rainwater?
I don't recall.
Right?
Yeah,
Isn't
it's
some of
a
the blood running down?
picture.
Yeah, I think we see.
I don't think it's
Yep, there it is. There it
with
is.
Oh, there it
them.
is. Yeah.
That's the foot of the cross.
It's not
Tell
with
me
them
my
at
Bible
that
belief.
scene, but it's just to
No, but
you
it's
know,
sanctifying the
Christ is
entire
the-
rainstorm.
his blood is the Christ's blood
Yeah,
is the
this is
living
not a
water
normal
and-
rainstorm anymore. Yeah, there you go.
And a lot of this symbology still works, even if you don't necessarily have that upbringing to know all the details, because it's still just very good storytelling, movie wise.
They didn't make a reflecting pool in the footprint of the towers after 9/11 for no reason. Water and stuff like that. It's powerful. And look, he's kind of
Yeah.
messing with his mezuzah. He's gonna
Yeah.
fix that. Hey, buddy, the Romans are burning down the city in 35 years. Don't bother. But okay. It's
So
true.
he's
In
even
70 AD, they
changed
sacked the
his,
city.
his hate for the Romans is gone.
Yeah, like
And then he sees his
he's let go of everything. He
mother
even
and
says at some point, like, he says, like, when he died, I thought I heard him say, forgive them, Father, if they know not what they do. It's like all
Yeah.
that stuff that normally in a story that involves Jesus in a movie would be the focus of everything. We just get the second hand version of it, which makes it so much better.
Yeah, like life in and around Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like
And then
anything else would have devolved to be like nothing more than like a telenovela about the life of Christ. You know what I mean? You can't not showing his face, totally the right move. And then this a whole movie, we can't get these two people to touch each other. I mean, for God's sake, who painted this mess? I've seen better art in the subway.
All right.
Well, there you have it.
Hold on, let me switch off of my ridiculous picture here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Turn on my camera so everyone can see my face. Hi, everybody.
Let's see here. I looked at a synopsis of the book, gives some information on what happened to Ben-Hur and Esther afterwards. Interesting. The book's probably worth a read.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm thinking it might have. I haven't read the book, but I'm just thinking that instead of it all being separate, like the first of it and the beginning of and the end of it, dealing with Christ was like mixed in with the story.
It's marbled through.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
not like there's a Jesus countdown, though. They don't jam it in there. Like it's well enough done. It's like, what are the encounters? The first encounter is
I'll be
like
right back.
All right.
6 years before the next time he sees him, right? He sees him twice.
Well, yeah.
6
I
years
mean,
apart.
Like I've said multiple times, I'd never seen this movie before today, and I had no idea that it was like biblically oriented, because that's not the parts that you hear about like in pop culture. It's the chariot race, and that's basically everything there. They don't really delve into much of the rest of the story there. So I was kind of surprised that it went to where it did.
Modern society isn't as religious as it was in the early 1960s when this movie basically came out. It's a 1959 movie. You know what? Like, people were simply more religious in general across the entire country. And there is, I mean, look how many movies we have across the span of about 4 to 6 years. We have, King of Kings, The Big Fisherman, The Robe, of course, this movie, and lots of other biblical epics. I mean, History of the World Part 1 spoofs them. And even we can even throw back to them, although Gladiator doesn't do the biblical thing, that's kind of like woven into the fabric of like this big, gigantic biblical epic, or this historical epic. In the case of something like Antony and Cleopatra, like we'll just de-Christianize it. It's, and still have the same kind of pageantry. There's a great deal of pageantry in this movie. It was well conceived, and it was meant for an audience that went to the movie theater to spend the day there. You watched Bugs Bunny cartoons in the morning. You saw a newsreel about how we were absolutely going to win in this place called Vietnam, and then we saw, like maybe a shorter movie, like something like I don't know, a Stooges film, because they're still around in the 1950s. And then, a Bugs Bunny movie themed off this, probably, and then this. It was literally what you would do on a Saturday in 1959. How do I know? My mom told me. She did that stuff. And you would get like nice gifts, like a Ben-Hur like goblet or something.
Yeah.
You would get gifts themed to the movie.
Now you get weird popcorn buckets.
Yeah, that you pay for rather than that are given to you, right? It's like, be careful, we have our entire Ben-Hur tea set.
Shieldwall, I feel like we kind of like took over the whole conversation there for a while there. You want to give your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like I said, my internet went out about halfway through, so I didn't talk a lot towards the end because I didn't really remember much of what was going on. So when you were showing us still, I didn't have a lot of context, but yeah, it's a great movie. It won a whole bunch of Oscars and stuff. It's a lot of other works are based off of it. And it's obvious we can see it in other movies and things where people saw this and then used it in their movie making later on. Ideas, concepts, shots, shot composition, that kind of stuff. So yeah, but it's a great movie to watch, and so I recommend that if anybody hasn't seen it, to strap in, take about 4 or 5 hours, and
it has a
popcorn
good
and drinks
too.
Yes,
I mean it shows his fall and his one quest for vengeance, and then his redemption.
Yeah. T, you got any final thoughts on this?
You take a movie about something that's kind of unifying to all people, the story of Jesus. We hear about it, right? Like 80% of Americans are Christians. You put out there a movie that's got enough action and adventure for your middle school son, a handsome star for your daughter to be a little bit distracted by, and maybe the wife too. Dad can appreciate the two-fisted action. We had something here for the whole family. This movie was epic. It runs 212 minutes, and it featured not one but two freaking intermissions, whatever an entree arc is called. But, I mean, an incredible score, some incredible filming, and, one of the great classics, as everyone has kept saying here. Remarkable how many things you see that are in other movies. It's really remarkable. And I guess I'll just say this one. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. A little bit weird, but true. Gore Vidal, who's associated with the movie, and go see Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid with freaking Val Kilmer to get where he's coming from. There's been hotly contested stories of homoeroticism about this movie, about the relationship between Marsala and Ben-Hur. So stories like that, I guess, circle around all the time. It's in this Wikipedia article, but that could have been edited. But apparently that was around in the 50s.
They do that.
The subtext is hotly debated.
Wikipedia.
Like I said, we found out when we were searching Wikipedia that there are real stories that are real things that are really stories, and then true things that happen to be a story that is real. It's really hard to tell. But people have debated the subtext. I'd say that's probably a safe assumption. At least by the time this starts showing on TV all the time, when people have more TVs.
It's I do agree with what you guys have been saying. It's a fantastic movie. Can't believe took me till I was 41 till I saw this movie, but it is good. It is long. For anyone who hasn't seen it, don't feel bad if you need to take it in bite-sized chunks. It's fine. The movie takes its time, but it doesn't really waste its time, if that makes sense. But anyway, I don't think I can really add too much onto what you guys have already said. Jacob, take it away. Sorry, I started doing like final thoughts while you had to step away for
Oh,
a moment there.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, let's just go around the horn then and plug what we got coming. Beard.
Well, in about 11 minutes, at least that's when I have it scheduled. We might be a little bit late. I'm going to start playing some more Fallout London. I'm trying to get towards the end of that storyline there, the main storyline. I don't know how much I'm going to play tonight, but I'm going to try to get some under my belt. Other than that, Linktree/Beard of Liberty, that's got the links to all the shows that I'm on. Next thing up for me is going to be on Thursday with Roman the Empire, and I think a couple of other you guys here are going to be with me on that one. I think it's just a free range, open range, whatever it is. I forget because I'm a bad panelist. The end.
Okay, Deke, what do you got?
Dig.
Hello.
Oh, wait. That's my name again. That's right. I forgot. My name is Admiral Teague. I have a limited capacity. I usually boast that I have the mutant gene for for average intelligence, but that's not going to sound too good today. Check out my channel. I'll toss it in the private chat if someone could, because I'm
Sure.
not wrenched up. Just throw that in the chat for me. We do more than just Star Trek. We got entertainment news and other stuff, but we do Enterprise watch parties on Saturday. This Saturday, it will be a fantastic, absolutely huge watch party of an absolutely excellent episode of Star Trek. I promise you. And if the episode isn't as good as I said, don't worry. We'll be there. It'll be fun. We'll bring the humor. It'll be great. You'll love it. Trust me. It's huge. And it starts at 9:30 U.S. Eastern Standard Time. Aside from that, you'll catch me around. I'm your buddy Admiral Teague, and I'll be riding to work on the roof of the subway tomorrow because that's how I like to travel.
Cool. Shieldwall.
All right, riding on the subway roof, the only way to go.
Oh yeah.
After evading the fare.
Yeah, there you go. So I too will be on Roman of the Empire's channel on Thursday for the open range, and next week I think I'll be here for Wrath of Khan, unless the panel's full, because that's a pretty popular one.
Yeah, I think the panel is full. It's a 4-person panel.
Okay, so yeah, just let me know whatever's going on. But that's a great movie.
All right.
I have covered it on Roman's channel before. It was like 2 years ago. So, but it's always worth revisiting. It's an amazing movie. Also, I recommend watching the original Star Trek original series with what's that one called? Space Seed? Is that it?
You
Yes,
think
Space Seed.
No, Space Seed is the Wrath of Khan prequel. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
It's
where
got
they
the
introduced
original
Ricardo
entrance of
Montalban.
Khan. Right. And the
Yep.
best part of that is when
It
he
helps.
rizzes up that human. That's one of the best scenes in TV. How he does
And you can
that.
and you can also see for the rest of your life and understand how J.J. Abrams is such a terrible filmmaker, because he could have made a Space Seed Star Trek movie and it wouldn't have cost a lot of money and it would have worked. It would have been great because they had people capable of that level of drama, but he didn't misses the opportunity.
Yeah.
So in Star Trek Into Darkness, when he makes the threat, like, I'm Khan, I laughed out loud in the theater. I'm like, these people don't know who Khan is. Like, what? That's for us, the audience. This movie thinks I'm an idiot. And J.J. Abrams has not done anything but idiotic movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible.
But that original Space Seed episode is amazing. So recommend
A++.
watching that
Yeah, it is,
before
definitely.
if you're gonna watch
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of
But
God.
anyway, so we'll be going over that movie next week.
It's hard to watch them slap Lieutenant Uhura. That really pissed me off. I wanted a piece of that guy, but yes, yeah, that's one of the best.
Yeah.
It's not the best episode of the original
dare
series either. It's like a top 5 one, and it's not even the best guest star, but it's the most significant. They did the most with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, guys, yeah. So yeah, I will be on Roman's show. Then I will be pretty sure I'll be on Matt's this on Friday, and next week, yeah, Wrath of Khan. Be great. It'll be fun. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for the panel, and thanks for the chat for hanging. Thanks for the new people in the chat. Putin's cat. Love the name.
Thank you all.
Love the name.
Putin's cat. Good to see you. Good the second time I've seen Putin's cat today. It's great to see my pal Putin's cat.
Yeah, if y'all are new
Snorty's
here,
here too.
you know,
Thank
hit the
you
like
all.
if you liked it, subscribe, you know, whatever. Do the things. You
Please
know the buttons
subscribe.
to push.
Please subscribe to my friend. He's a great frick. My friend is an absolutely fantastic guy. He is first class all the way. You need to hit those like and follow buttons for him. He is going to be a huge YouTuber. Absolutely fantastic guy.
Gonna be huge. Look, I don't say that. That's what they tell me. Gonna be huge. He's gonna be huge.
Huge. I'll work on the flaming helmet thing. I will. Well, thanks.
Well,
thanks
I
to the
think we
chat
owe
and-
ourselves some congratulations. We are successes as reviewers because we pulled it in under the time of this movie length, which is hard to believe because it was a
Yes.
bear. But I guess we could say a rather straightforward movie with a complex B plot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you so much for letting me
everybody.
do
Yeah, man. Glad you'd be on. Well, I hope everybody has a good week, and we will see y'all next time. Later.
Later.